In order, it's Wednesday, November 8th, 2023, 10:02 maybe. Is that the right time? 10:02 a.m. Meeting of the Marine and Environmental Resource Task Force. Let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Turning is what
Bill
really
shows up.
hurts.
He's got a spot over there.
You can't do what you feel like. You gotta think about
Yeah,
it.
he might not,
Don't
as
like
Brandon
that.
told me she was going to not be available for Friday's pop-up, so I might be out of town.
Might be traveling. Okay, so roll call. Now you're at the 12 o'clock.
Present.
Mary Rose Valletta, present.
Robert Howell present.
Rose Larkin, present.
Jennifer Rusk here.
Steve Johnson, present.
Bill Altoff, present.
Okay. Next is approval of the agenda. You all received the agenda?
Via email.
Make a motion to approve the agenda as written.
I had some questions.
Yeah, I've got an adjustment actually I would recommend.
Well, my questions were based on two things. One was your recommendation for education. Actually, both of you both were recommending education, and that's something we've been promoting big time for the last several years. And so I had sent something out for all of you to receive on the invasive plant list from 2019, which is the current list, to have it posted to the town's website. And so that didn't happen, so I really would like the vegetation to be back on there. In addition to some decisions by the town council on various trees that they're considering planting at Royal Palms, and also now that I'm normally here on the beach 1 to 3 times a week, people are coming up to me and saying, "Oh, did you hear that this business or whatever is planting invasive plants?" And so commercial vegetation projects is also a concern at the moment. And then, in addition to that, at the October 16th town council meeting, there was a discussion between the Anchorage Committee and METRF being mentioned about looking into the canal dredging. And I thought that might end up on our agenda. And then the mayor had talked about how the town council is very concerned about the whole rebuilding of the community with both the community and businesses involved. And so I thought that would encompass vegetation and a few other projects that we had listed. So that's my take at the moment.
Okay, so what are the actual recommendations for the agenda items, or some of that
It could be
part of
vegetation.
members' reports, or?
See, I think it needs, well, at least vegetation should be on a current item because there's multiple components to that. But then I feel bad because since it's not listed, then nobody in the public would have known about it to come and speak about it. But,
Well, we can always have it on this agenda and then put it on the next one also if we feel we want to invite people.
yes, because when people look at this agenda, it's like it doesn't list anything about vegetation or the commercial business aspect of it.
But what's
or,
that, I guess, for the benefit of everybody, so it's just a discussion of what's going on, or there's, as you know, we can't move the vegetation ordinance forward.
Right, no, this would be to put something on the town's website in terms of invasive plants, which was brought up about listing invasive plants so people would know what they are and make it more accessible, and it is accessible right now. But I'll go into that when I get to it. The whole canal dredging, I don't know. That was something that was discussed between the Anchorage Committee and METRF at the October 16th meeting.
Yeah,
I don't have any information on that at all.
Yeah, I was aware of that as well. Okay, so there's canal dredging and vegetation you'd like to add today.
Yeah, it's just information for the public, residents and businesses.
Okay, any other
So
additions?
just to update y'all, we do have a survey of invasive plants on there. Is that what you're referring to, or you're referring to the FLEPPC, or whatever it is.
That list, yes, there's a new list from 2019, but to find it, you have to go to the Fort Myers Beach Town website. You have to go to the tab of Doing Town Business. Then you go down to Environmental Science. Then you have to click on Native Invasive Plants. Then you have to open the plant information from the University of Florida Institute of Food and Agricultural Science, which has 11 different website links on it. You have to select the one that says Florida Exotic Pest Plant Console,
That was my point.
which does not say anything about an invasive plant list. It says select Florida Exotic Pest Plant Console. Then you select the plant list, and then you need to know that 2019 is the most current list available.
And that sounds easy enough. I don't
Yeah.
understand why people can't find it.
That was kind of the point I was trying to make last meeting.
Yeah.
Is that it was a little,
It's-
because I had to go search, I really had to want to find it.
Yeah.
But I did find it.
Oh, good. Well, gold star.
It shouldn't be that hard to put a link just to that last bit.
Right, and I've sent, yes.
So we're
I
already
said it-
discussing this. I
All
guess we
right, yeah,
better
that's
put it on
right.
the
So
agenda.
still,
Yeah.
still again, approval of the agenda. So we've got those two items. I actually also have you.
I'm done,
You
sorry.
done? Anybody else? I also have, I had requested earlier to actually put the initiatives back onto the agenda so that we can go over and have consensus of exactly what items are going to be presented to council, and then go through our normal procedures of presenting it to council as we have done in the past, to ask for them to add, subtract, or give us comments that help us prioritize what that list is. Like I said, as we've done in the past. And so that's what I'd like to include as well, while keeping both the beach school cooperation and the beach sands projects, because I think that there's a lot to be discussed there on the agenda already.
Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, and I don't know if it needs to be put on the agenda because we've already approved doing the activity book, but I do have some information. I don't know if I need to present this during members' items reports, but one of them is discussing maybe honorary or some sort of grant to the lady who's going to be helping us, the FGCU student who's going to be helping us with the activity book. So is that
That's
something?
probably members item. I would include
Okay.
those members items.
Okay.
Okay, so as far as approving the agenda, I make a motion to amend it to include the initiative list again, as we already have actually established, to include the items that we discussed last meeting, as well as vegetation. I guess that should be relatively brief because it seems like it's almost more of a information sharing section. And then comments on the canal dredging. Is there a second?
Yeah, I'll second that, Steve. But first, let's repeat again. What are we adding to the agenda? How many items?
3. The initiatives list, which shouldn't be very long.
Right?
The vegetation, again, I don't think is necessarily going to be too long. Canal dredging should be just to really articulate what's going on.
But yeah, I'll second that. Let's talk about those 3 things.
All right, for discussion. So those 3, and then we
Right.
have beach school cooperation, which again shouldn't be too long. I mean, it's an idea really at this point. I think we're brainstorming. And then the beach sand projects, which I think will be the majority of the meeting, actually. Potentially, could be.
So we've got 5 items.
Right, which is a ton. So knowing that, then the previous ones need to be as brief as possible, I'd say. So that's the discussion. So we have a motion and a second.
For those 5 items.
Yeah,
As
the
the
motion
agenda.
was Spalletta and the second was
My second.
Howell, okay? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, hearing none, motion carries. So let's start then with vegetation, shall we, Rose?
Approval of previous meeting minutes?
Right, public comment, all that good
Because-
stuff, right? So again, I just received them as I walked in, so I make a motion, we table that to allow everybody to get a copy of
The
it.
minutes?
Yeah, these weren't distributed, Chad?
Sorry?
The minutes were not distributed?
I believe Eva emailed them to you.
No.
No, we never got them.
No, yeah, okay.
Can we try to have that and the agenda printed out every time before the meeting, so we can at least get it when we walk in?
Well, but that doesn't allow you to look through the minutes. I prefer to have, I mean, the minutes are done at least a couple of weeks before the meeting.
Well, I know, but I mean, it would be helpful also coming in.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'd like to read them before we come in here.
of course. I mean,
I'm
of
sure
course.
we all
Oh,
would.
we all would.
Yeah, so I make a motion to table the minutes until next meeting.
Second,
All right, motion by Johnson, second by Nussbaum. Any objection? Okay.
Is there any, well, before we move on, is there anything in it that, who has looked at them that we want to talk about that we know of?
No, I would say
Oh, I
no.
haven't looked at
They
it.
all have to be.
Yeah, okay.
I had to look it up, so.
Yeah, I haven't seen it either, so,
I just skimmed it as I walked in. so.
yeah, I mean, it would help a lot, yeah, to get them in advance for sure. So we table those?
Is there a reason why we didn't get them? Did Eve,
I mean, frankly,
Chad, how come we
for the
didn't?
last 5 meetings, we had to do 3 in one meeting, so I
Why
don't, is
don't
there
we-
a better way to,
Is that
Can
Eve was
I'll
supposed?
talk to Miss Eva and
And
we'll get it together.
so that in the future, she will just directly send it?
Can she do that, or does she have to go through you?
Is that the plan?
I'll talk to Eva and Amy.
Okay.
All right, good. So let's go to public comment. Seeing no public, we'll move on. So current items. Vegetation.
Okay, well, you already heard the list of how to find the current list, and I have it on a PDF. I've already sent it to Chad last week, on October 31st, and it's just a 2-page thing, but it does have invasive plants number category 1 and category 2. It's a very small print, but it's the list of plants, and I would like it posted directly to the town's website so that people don't have to go through all those steps to try and find it. And part of my rationale for that is that in the last several weeks, people have come up to me from various groups, and you can look, this is the
Oh,
first
yeah,
one,
it's filed.
that they know that businesses, including Margaritaville, has lists of vegetation on their landscaping plans that include invasive plants. And they've all come up to me and just kind of whispered it in my ear almost, because they don't know what to do with the information. And it's like, well, I'm sure they don't know. I mean, they're going to the big store items, you know, if they're not local, and buying things that they see or someone talks them into, not realizing that they're invasive in South Florida. So I just really would like that list posted directly onto the website, and then to get the word out for businesses to really look at it and see what's on there, because it has both the common names and also the scientific names of all of them.
Yeah, I think it behooves us to do that.
So
because
isn't that just a matter of getting
people
hold
will
of
do the right
Jenny,
thing.
Jenny Dexter to ask her to place it on the website?
Right, with the list,
More
yes.
easily available, and then also potentially send out an advisory to say this is posted, have a look if you're considering landscaping. These are,
Maybe some kind of social media post once it is on there. Hey, you know,
It would
new
be
to the
nice,
website.
yeah.
Yeah, like just something that new to the website. You know, as you rebuild, check out our newly updated list. Like, and I think because I follow their Instagram, Facebook, you know, all that, and I think
who's that, the town?
yeah,
Do they have Instagram?
yeah.
well, and everyone that's submitting a landscaping plan, you can just say, have you looked at
Yeah,
what is on there, rather than going down 7 layers
Good
on the
idea.
town's website? Say, have you looked at this list? It's not binding, but you should consider what is on this list as you're selecting trees and shrubs for your landscaping plan.
And who
Therefore,
should
it's-
tell them that?
Well, but it's,
Because it's like, we're,
I think a lot of people want to do the right thing
oh, I believe that.
without someone saying, this is what you have to do. If you come out and say, here's a list, we'd like you to consider using alternatives than what's on this list as specified, I think most people will do it. There are going to be some people that say, I'm going to plant whatever the hell I want to plant.
But there's, I mean, right now, again, I'm going to point to Rose because she's, I think, maybe the most involved with the ordinances. But the commercial and multifamily ordinances do require a permit, correct?
for the, yes.
And within the ordinance, it actually
But then
specifies.
who's overseeing them? That's the,
Well, those have to be approved by code compliance.
But
They have to
you
be
can't,
signed off on, I believe.
but you can't make a rule that says you have to use something not on that list.
Right,
Because that's
Right.
I believe,
not what we can do.
Right.
right, that's what we were attempting to do for residential, but I think on a commercial multifamily, it specifies exactly that you have to have a certain percentage of native. I don't know, are invasives allowed to be, are the invasives on that list?
Should not be, but couldn't tell you. That would be a chat question.
Yep.
I don't know.
What's the question, sorry?
Are invasives on the,
Would you please repeat it?
are invasives on the list of possible plants that commercial people could put in their landscaping?
No, so chapter 10 specifically prohibits exotic invasive species from
That's what I thought.
commercial properties.
Perfect.
Yeah, done deal.
But see, they just don't know that, and that's that whole education piece that we've talked about.
But for commercial properties, that,
Is it-
all those are permitted, is that correct, Chad?
Oh, yes, sir.
And so you approve, code compliance then reviews them?
Do you have a list of what species you are speaking to so I can understand what the
The
issue is?
2019 invasive plant list from the
Do
exotic.
you have a
pest-
list of species that are at, say, Margaritaville that are,
I don't have the list. It was one of those things where people come and talk to me.
sure. So yeah, if you can get the list of specific species that are concerned that either slip through or are there or.
Or they've already
not there.
submitted their plans. I
Again,
don't
I don't know
know.
which species we're speaking about right now. So we're gonna go through plans and try and find something, or is there a specific concern for a specific plant? If you can get that to me, that'd be helpful.
Okay, I will work on that. It'll be a few days.
Okay, anything else on vegetation?
Possible some of the trees that are being considered. I know they put in Royal Palms, like in Times Square, and then there's some discussion now about putting them elsewhere on the island or coming onto the island. And I just want to reiterate that those trees get to be massive, like 50, 60 feet tall plus, and their palm fronds when they fall down.
Do
are
we confirm
huge.
that those are
That was in the that
trees?
was in
Those
the
are the-
town
that's-
manager's notes.
In the Times Square, I mean, I took photos, that's what I came up with, that those are, which are huge. But now there's consideration that there's this tree, Tree USA
Tree
group
USA Foundation.
that is considering giving money or trees to the town of Fort Myers Beach to put in more
Well,
vegetation,
the
which
town
is great.
pursuing it.
Yeah, and that's great. But not Royal Palms, for a couple of reasons. One, they're huge. B, if a palm frond falls down, those things are very large. They come like 10 to 15 and they're heavy.
You
They
wish
can
it
weigh
was a
up,
coconut.
yeah, they can weigh up to 50 pounds. And also, I mean, there were some of those in my neighborhood, and when the hurricane came through, they toppled over. And I mean, it took large, heavy industrial equipment to move them or chainsaws to cut through them. And if you think about where they might be planted, they could then impede evacuation routes if they fell over
Oh, wow.
prior to the major onset of a storm. So they really need to go with smaller palms.
Native
it's-
palms.
Well, actually, royal palms are native, and they do fairly well on Sanibel,
smaller
but
native is what
not,
I'm
yes,
saying.
not there, and not on small highways or roads. Yeah,
2-lane roads, yeah.
definitely not a good thing.
What I read was it was for Estero Boulevard and Old San Carlos Boulevard,
Yeah,
which I'm
and
not sure where you
either-
could plant a tree like that.
No, no.
Right, there's the
No.
parking strips. Are they gonna be, can't be put on private property? I don't know if there's not right away.
Well, there's a small right of way, but it's not going to encompass a tree that large that has, is 5 stories or more tall that could fall over and block the
Yeah, are you familiar
entire
with the Royal Palm? You
roadway.
guys with the Royal Palm?
But
We have
Russell
numerous,
McGregor, yeah, you said.
Yeah.
we have numerous royal palms on our property, and I would say all but 2 survived the storm. So, and
they
they
did too
were,
well, but
and they were 2 that were recently transplanted. So, I would say they've only been in the ground 2 years, but all of the well-established royals rode out the storm very well.
What's your opinion of them being down Estero Boulevard and Old San Carlos
Well,
Boulevard?
if they're down McGregor Boulevard, and it's
That's a
striking.
boulevard. That's a boulevard. That's not a 2-lane road.
If
no.
there's room on Estero Boulevard, and there are some areas south
of
along
the
there,
church, maybe, yeah.
I think they're very striking. I mean, all you have to do is drive down McGregor Boulevard and look at the impact that they have. So, obviously, fronds coming down are an issue. But, you know, branches coming off most trees are an issue. The royal palms do shed, but it's, you know, I think the aesthetics, my personal opinion, are striking, which is one of the reasons we have quite a few on our property. And I didn't plant them, they were put in previously. And we've been there 50 years, and we have some 50-year-old royal palms that are absolutely stunning trees. And they hold the soil, and they can withstand hurricanes, obviously.
And we had the same track record in our condo. We had a couple die. But if they're native and we have a list that says they're good, I don't see why.
Well,
Well, just the town, the
There's not a lot of shade,
expense.
yeah.
The expense of cleaning up after them, and you know, McGregor Boulevard's pretty nice because a lot of the residents help pull the fronds off the roadway, or they have constant crews that pull them up, because when they do fall down and they're on the McGregor Boulevard, the actual street, it's tough. I mean, it can cause damage to a vehicle. So Estero Boulevard's not that wide in most sections, so maybe in a wider section on Estero Boulevard it could be considered, but there's lots of smaller, shorter palms that are like, you know, 20, 25 feet that would give the palm look without being detrimental to evacuation routes and cleaning up after them and whatever. That's just my take
Just
on it.
one topic on evacuation routes. If there's an evacuation that we need to do, everybody should be out before palm trees are falling down.
That's true, but the palm fronds might
Perfect
go
world.
off.
Most palms are self-cleaning, right?
Yes.
Royal palms are, yes.
They'll just fall.
I think
apart.
the issue is the fronds are so massive that,
And they do break windshields, I can attest.
Also, they've had to remove royal palms from McGregor due to utility work. FPL has had to remove a few that people weren't very happy with, but because they're so large, they can hinder utility lines.
which would prohibit them from being on the beach side. They'd all have to be on the bay side of the
Which
road.
then you
for the
lose
sterile.
that look. And also, I believe we should try, just like we're doing with the lighting, uniformity is, I think, really important.
Yeah, so the issue I would say then would be that if that was the case, then you probably wouldn't, there wouldn't be room to plant any until after you pass the Catholic Church, where the right-of-way gets larger, because it's only 50 feet, right, in the downtown area. Old San Carlos, I can't imagine where they would put them there. So then it wouldn't be a consistent look all the way down Estero Boulevard. You'd pick them up after the church, right? Because again, there's parking, there's a sidewalk, and there's a parking strip that's about this. Is that what we're calling it, parking strip? We spent a lot of time on that
Would
before.
these trees be planted in the sidewalks, in the sidewalk area, or on
Well, see,
private
they
property?
haven't decided that either. There's been discussion by the town that they're gonna pave that all in and make it part of a bike lane from the sidewalk to the street, so there won't even be any plants there, period. So I don't
And
know.
if you've ever walked in my area down by town, Times Square area, Miramar down, during spring break or a very busy weekend, that sidewalk can be packed full of people from one end to the other.
Yeah,
So
they're not gonna pick, I mean, they're not gonna break out the sidewalk to put the palm tree, I don't think, right? I mean,
That's what I'm
That's
wondering.
an obstruction. And plus your ADA, I mean, it wouldn't be ADA.
So it would be private properties then.
That's what I'm saying, no, there's no room. I mean, there's no even parking strip until you get to Great Plaza or whatever, right? I mean, there's literally, it's 50, whatever that 50 feet is. I mean, by next to Margaritaville, you got the bathhouse right there. I mean, that's right on the sidewalk, so that's all privately owned from the sidewalk over. And so if you visualize how much space is between the sidewalk and the street, I mean, there's absolutely
None.
zero space
Zero.
until you get further, past Mid-Island.
So, Chairman Johnson, are we just deciding whether we want to say royal palms are good or bad? Or are we trying to plan the boulevard?
I think the question is whether or not we, again, we're an advisory council, so is there advice we can give the town council? If so, what is that
And
advice?
I think the advice right now is we have an invasive species list, and if there are trees that are not on that list that can go down, until we have a plan, I don't think there's anything that we can do as far as advising the council other than don't pick something off that list.
Even natives can be harmful if you've utilized them properly.
Well, but there's also other species that potentially be even more beneficial.
That's what
Shade trees, for instance. And we've all been under, areas that have canopies and.
Which trees do we use in Bayside Park?
We use cabbage palms, sable palms.
Sable palms? So why don't we just advise that we use sable palms in any areas along Estero Boulevard or Times Square area, and we keep uniformity all throughout the island. They provide shade. They're native, correct?
So right now you have coconut palms, some have died, some are still standing. You also have royal palms, some have died, some are still standing. So are you proposing that we remove all of the royal palms and coconut palms that are existing to replace them with a different palm tree?
No.
No, this is about
I'm just talking about the ones.
This is
we're
the Tree
advising
USA Foundation that the
Right.
town managers
whatever
pursuing.
trees are needed.
Right, so again, whenever we're going for a grant, we have places where we can plant trees, and up and down these boulevards, or OSC, we already have coconut palms. So to your point about uniformity, would we be taking out all the other coconuts, so would we be uniform with something else? Or are you recommending staying uniform with the
Well,
coconut
are
palms?
coconut
or-
trees
Where are the
native?
coconut palms? I mean, you're
Coconut-
saying that there's coconut
No, but
palms that are the town
Florida
planted in the
friendly?
right of way?
It's on OSC, I don't know who planted
What's
it.
OSC?
Old St. Carlos?
Old St. Carlos. So the ones that are in the grates there between the street and the sidewalk.
Rose, what would you propose?
Well, the coconut palms are tolerable unless they're right next to a moving waterway. That's the official thing. If they're next to moving water, then they should not be planted there because the coconuts fall into it and then they become invasive. But most of the ones on the island are not next to moving water. I'm sure there are some next to canals.
Where do we have coconut palms?
Old St. Carlos Boulevard?
That block.
There's one in Times Square that's behind the wavy wall that's been incorporated into the garden that's being planned there.
So
So how many trees do we have on Old St. Carlos Boulevard?
We're in the middle of a tree survey right now. We can get that to you next meeting.
Thank you.
So Jed, did you work on this grant to Tree USA Foundation? Is that what it's called?
We're working on several grants, yeah.
You're working on those. So can you tell us more about what was in the town manager's report on pursuing coconut palm or royal palms? Were you part of that selection committee, or who? I mean, how did that evolve? Is there any?
So again, we have coconut palms existing on OSC. The staff's recommendations to replace the ones that were damaged by the hurricane to keep the uniformity down Old St. Carlos Boulevard, and then the same with the royal palms. So
The same what with royal palms?
royal palms down North Estero Boulevard. We have some that are removed, some that are still standing, so we would be filling in the gaps for the royal palms that were lost.
Are there royal palms on North Estero Boulevard?
There are some down there, and some of my neighbors had some, but
Like where? What block? I mean.
Carlos Circle, the last street on the island. But
From the
north.
pier, from
North.
the pier to Bowditch, more or less.
Ah, gotcha. Yeah.
But some of those trees came down, like someone was in my yard. I mean, they're massive when they fall down, and the other problem is if you're planting them, as you said, if they're like 2 years old or less, there's a possibility they're not well enough established, and then you've got that whole gigantic tree falling down again. If you're looking at continuation of things. You got the Bayside Park with the cabbage palms or sable palms, then that would just make sense. Then that would line Old Carlos Boulevard because it would be the same trees going down both sides of the street. Then there's trees like black olive, and there's one coconut palm in Times Square, and they planted royal palms in there. But they're small, they're little. You wouldn't know they're royal palms right now. They're very petite, they're a nice size. And I don't know, as they redo Times Square, those may be relocated at some point in the future, I don't know. But going down the boulevard, Estero Boulevard, you know, it's kind of whatever. I mean, there's some buildings really close to the road, like Margaritaville, where there's nothing that's going to be planted hardly, and then there's some spaces where there's a wider section. It's not going to look like McGregor Boulevard, probably no matter what we advise.
So we have the town going to give us a survey next meeting, maybe?
Well, I'm doing that for a grant, but I'm happy to share that with you.
All right, thank you. And then the other question I see is, where do we have room for this?
Mm-hmm.
Right. Is that part of your survey too?
Yeah, so we're assessing trees, whether or not they're stumps, dead trees, live trees, and just taking GIS lat long on those and seeing where we do have room where either royal palms or coconut palms were previously, and getting some grant money to replace them. Culture, you know, to Ms. Rose's point, coconut palms, yes, they are a Category 2 invasive. My understanding is that they are Category 2 invasive because they will drop fronds and basically suffocate out any other growth of natives. That's not a concern on OSC. They are culturally significant. They've been there for years, and they're a good look. That would be my recommendation to staff.
Is there anybody that wants to make a motion to advise the council on the matter?
Well, I think we would need more information to make a motion for
Well, I
advising.
think the motion would be that, has this been, you know, is this received by the community? Is it, has it considered for shade, for evacuation, for
Spacing.
danger, for uniformity, those types of things? Have those all been considered? And whether or not they prefer to have MRF work on that. That's our position, our responsibility, actually. is to
Well,
advise as needed.
In echoing what Bill said, I think we need to get some additional information before we can make a recommendation and then have public comment when it comes back, discuss it, and then let public comment come in and make a comment before we can recommend to the council on anything. I mean, we should allow the information to come back, let that information go out, and let people come in and make a public comment if they so choose, and then make a recommendation.
What's the deadline on the grant?
Exactly, is this work?
Yeah, it is November 17th, so it is coming quick.
Yeah.
If y'all would like to make a recommendation.
Okay, so let's get on it.
Well, with the deadline and with what you're working on with the grant,
Yes, sir.
are you limited by species by any means?
We're not necessarily limited. It would preferably be a native species, but right now it's the thought was to replace what had been taken from the hurricane, or taken by the hurricane, just for these two. We have a lot of projects coming up with town property that there'll be opportunities to do different landscaping plans. But right now you have coconut palms in OSC that need to be replaced, and royal palms down North Estero Boulevard that need to be replaced. If we're going to keep things uniform, we were going to be replacing species like for the most mature tree that we could afford with the grant. And that was also the concern. You know, canopy trees, you know, different palm trees, etc. would be great, but then you're ripping down trees that cost thousands of dollars to replace, and you know.
We're not talking about
So what I hear you saying, it's like for like. So when they said, so the note that we read from the town manager's report isn't necessarily, I mean, needed more information. So you're saying that the royal palms are just for North Estero Boulevard? And then they also said OSC, but the OSC you're saying is replacing just coconut palms.
We already have coconut palms there, so my recommendation was to continue with the uniformity of coconut palms.
Okay, so I misinterpreted it by the way it was written. It said Estero Boulevard, meaning I'm thinking the entire length of it, and then also royal palms on OSC is what it said, also on Old San Carlos. And I couldn't figure out how those would possibly
But
fit.
Old San Carlos should probably be the sable palms, because coconut palms are dangerous and so are these very
Well,
large
Chad's
royal
point
palms.
is you'd be removing the coconut palms to make it uniform.
Well, there's not that many living there.
Yeah.
The ones that are there can stay and add in some, and then add in some cabbage palms to fill in the rest of the street, all the way to Bayside Park. Because once you get to Times Square, like I said, you have a coconut palm tree there already.
So if y'all can just make a recommendation, we're at nearly 10:40, it was 11 o'clock scheduled into the meeting. And we're on an agenda item.
The 11 o'clock was
original agenda.
scheduled.
You had an hour meeting.
Oh, I guess I didn't notice that.
Chad, is there a difference in price for the trees compared, like a royal palm and a cabbage? Is it worth considering or it doesn't?
I'm sure there's a difference, yeah, I'm sure sable palms are cheaper.
Are cheaper?
I think everybody's agreed, you want to have uniformity in look.
Yeah.
But we can't put the same palms on the whole island. There are going to be areas where we have royal palms and areas where we have coconut and areas where we have
Yeah.
sable.
I think Old
And
San Carlos
so-
Road and Bayside Park, we can keep uniformity. And then the
Okay.
ones, and I'll,
Leave what's
also,
there.
it's a responsibility to Fort Myers Beach to plant responsibly and
Sure.
native. So, you know, if this grant is coming to us, I think we can say that we would like to keep all native plants in our business district. So,
I think basically what we want is caution on the royal palms because of their size and striving for uniformity. So can we put that in a motion?
So my opinion is that the north Estero is fine. It's royal palm for royal palm. Those are already there. So
Right.
that was the confusion in my mind. As far as Old San Carlos, if they have sable palms in Bayside Park, does it make sense then to select sable palms for Old San Carlos?
That
For
makes sense.
uniformity only.
And not remove the coconut palms that may already be existing.
Right,
There
as
is
long as they're healthy,
like
of course
two.
they should stay.
thing.
But then you're mixing and matching, right?
But like I said, there's already a coconut palm in Times Square. It's okay to have a variety of
Right.
trees. Actually,
Once they come in, they'll look good, as long as they're green.
All right, so where does that leave us?
well, I would make a motion that we have the royal palms replaced on the northern end of the island from Bowditch Point to Times Square, and that Old San Carlos Boulevard have sable palms fill in the spaces between the existing coconut palms.
I'll second that.
Do we know
For
the
discussion.
cost? Do we know the cost of?
Well, I think it's a grant, so
Yeah.
Chad's gonna get us whatever we want. He's writing the grant.
so, do we have discussion?
yep.
Since we have a second, we have discussion, so now what?
Any more input on that motion?
Can we have that motion again?
So the royal palms replaced on North Estero Boulevard as is current, and then on Old San Carlos we would fill in the missing trees there with sable palms versus coconut palms.
I would only say that we recommend. I mean,
Well, that's all we can do
Yeah,
anyway.
that's right.
Yeah, we're advising.
We have no power, Dave.
I understand that.
Yeah, I mean, that's our advice, as you've seen in the past, it could be taken or it could be, ignored. It's
Is this
the will of the
grant-
council.
I'm sorry, I missed something. Is the grant also to get trees for the south end of the island as well?
And that's not my understanding, based on what Chad said.
Not right now.
Okay,
No.
okay. All right.
Any more input?
No.
All right, I'll move to a vote.
I take that back, I will be doing some access plannings.
Oh, beach access planning. Okay, so let's add Sable Palms to beach access list. No?
No.
Okay, what?
No,
No?
Let's wait for
unless
that.
they're, yeah, unless
Well,
they're,
Preference
Really
there was
fun.
gonna be shade trees, usually sea grape shade trees.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Okay, we can cross that hurdle.
Is Bowditch involved in any of the grants?
It's county.
No.
It's county, that's what I was
Yeah.
making sure.
So for the sake of time, should I move to a vote? All in
Yes.
favor?
I,
Aye.
Any opposed? Nope, okay, so, 4-0. Motion by
Me.
Rose Larkin, second by Johnson, okay. All right. Moving along. Canal dredging?
that was just something that was mentioned at the
I
activity.
mentioned it, and I think Chad said that we don't have any say in that. Is that correct? I was told,
Oh, no, we're pursuing funding to clean the debris out of the canals, out of the mooring field. We're gonna be doing side scans soon. And,
Is that why Miramar
we're
Street is
also going
closed?
to be,
The access on Miramar?
no, we had partnered with FDP Aquatic Reserve staff and went and helped them clean out Matanzas Island, north of the bridge, or west of the bridge. So we were staging a 20-yard dumpster over there and filled that up with debris from Matanzas Island, which is a
is that the Bird
protected
Island?
rookery island.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the Bird Island. Oh, good.
Oh, good.
Staff
That's
helped them
nice.
out with that yesterday.
That's awesome. So how long is access going to be, or that ramp going to be closed for that purpose?
I can check with AP staff and see when they've scheduled the pickup, but I think it's ready to be picked up, and they may be doing a second day. So if there's an issue with somebody needing access to that boat ramp, please just give me a call.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone has.
So the issue that came up is simply that that's not necessarily charter of the Anchorage Committee. So
The canals, you mean?
Councilman
The canals are-
Adderholt was suggesting that they don't have enough to do, so they should sort of do the heavy lifting for the canal cleaning.
Oh,
Whereas it's more obviously marine and environmental resources. That's clearly smack in the center of our charter.
Mhm.
But I'm of the opinion that, go ahead, go do the heavy lifting. I mean, whatever the regulatory, whatever is required, but certainly we'll keep track of sort of what's going on. If it's, I mean, I don't see that there's an issue, but,
it sounds interesting. I mean, we know it has to be done. It's got to be a heck of a mess.
Yeah,
Sooner you
oh, yeah.
start, the better.
I just hope they're careful with oysters. I was out doing a Keighley County beautiful cleanup back in the mangroves, and I saw a plastic chair hanging from the mangroves, and I got out and got it, and I didn't realize it, but when I grabbed it, it had oyster shells all over it, and it just sliced my hand.
Oh, wow.
So people should be aware, wear gloves when cleaning out
Good
the
point.
mangroves.
Yeah.
okay.
So the town is doing that, or is the state doing that?
It was a state initiative. We can only access that with state permission. It's protected rookery island, so it's, I think boat traffic and pedestrian traffic is prohibited from there. But
It's
it
a
was
secret way.
it was a state initiative. They asked us to partner with them, and we were happy to help.
Good.
Okay, anything else on canal dredging?
Is there a schedule for that?
Canal dredging?
Yeah.
Right now, the first thing on the schedule is to get funding. Once we get funding, then the rest of the schedule comes alive.
All right, there wasn't any proposed schedule when you put the,
How can Murph
I don't
help?
make a schedule if you don't have money to do it, you know?
How can Murph help with ideas?
I mean, it's pretty straightforward. Get the debris out of the canals and dredge the canals to either -5 or -7.5 mean water.
Yeah, and up the rest that they missed with the barge guys.
If you had a dredge and you could do it for free, that would be a great help.
Okay, so shall we move along here?
Yes.
All right, next up was the, actually initiative list. So what I was gonna go through is exactly what, for the sake of the newer members, we maintain a list here for, to sort of populate our agenda items as we go through and prioritize it. And these most recently were presented to council on May 15th, 2023, and prior to that, it was presented on April, right after we got back, re-adjourned after the hurricane. So I will, for the sake of time, kind of go through these and confirm that these are still on or off. So we have consensus, and then actually I have that list that was developed last time. We can determine what's on or, to add, and then we can go ahead and present it and ask the town council during advisory reports, advisory reports during town council meeting. So we've got all the, these are tabled, really, landscape vegetation management, the tree ordinance, and landscape irrigation and water shortage model ordinances. Those are all tabled due to SB 250. We have dark skies model ordinance. So for the benefit of the new people, dark skies is, basically it could become a community, a dark skies community. It's, I would say it's very difficult. We have to have, basically, the next steps we had for that was wait to see results of municipal projects, because if the municipalities don't abide by these, then there's no way they'll feed the community the certification. Now, whether we get the certification or not, after investigating the entire thing, we said we cannot move forward to pursue certification without support from town and entirety of community stakeholders. So it requires all this legwork. Letters from the delegation, legislative delegation, mayor letters, commitment. I personally felt, and I think the advisory board felt we didn't have that commitment, not even close to it yet. Specifically based on some municipal projects that have gone on recently. So there's no way we could possibly move forward with it. So is that still something that should stay on? It could be prioritized a little much lower in the list and wait.
Much lower.
Wait for things to evolve. So consensus is to keep it on.
I think it's aspirational, but we have more immediate needs.
It's absolutely aspirational. Right. So we also had rebuild right beach accesses. I think we've sort of given our feedback on that with regard to resilient beach access design. So we know the 88, the 1 in 20, or now maybe the 1 in 25 we're pursuing is in place. Rebuild right Bayside Park, we gave our input on that. So that can actually come off. So a counselor had asked us to look into the Crescent Park access to see if there's a strap, a piece of property there that they thought was a sliver between the pier side grill maybe and the pier. We didn't pursue that. I'm not sure that's something, that's sort
That's
of
a Lee County parcel.
that is a lead kind. So is there a strap number? Bill brought it up. Were you there when he brought that up at the town council meeting?
Yeah, there's a strap that's on LEPA.
It's on LEPA, the one he's specifically talking about, and it's right now.
I know there's a sliver between the pier and pierside property, formerly known as.
And that's, you're saying that's county?
Lee County. Yeah.
Okay. So, I don't think there's anything we can move on that. It never made the list. That was just something that was brought up. We had rebuild right mangrove protections. So what we were looking for is reviewing the protections afforded mangroves by state, local, and state and federal guidelines, and then finding out how best to prevent sort of what happened at the beach theater, where it's better to not ask for permission, just rip it out, pay your fines, pay the mitigation bank and Pine Island, and move forward. Even though all these protections are there, that's sort of the way you can get around it.
We need to leave that
So is there another way we can somehow protect them better?
So
it's not up for discussion.
Right, but we need to leave it on that.
Okay.
In my opinion.
It might too. Again, depending on when we get to it.
Because that'll be a good discussion.
Yeah, well, I know for a fact that there's projects around town.
Right.
That people are looking at, how can we get rid of these mangroves?
Get rid of
consultant, that I talked to. So that's consensus, leave that on?
Sure.
Yeah.
Definitely, yeah, that's important.
Rebuild right town vegetation, so we did that already. That's actually tabled. The density intensity, I think what we said, I have a comment in my members report for that, just maybe how to pursue that. Find somebody that we can find to come and talk. Rebuild right was beach obstructions. So now that we have all these beach projects going on, and managed beach zones? Can we ensure that there's compliance through adoption of dune design? So right now you can't have obstructions on the beach. It has to be behind the dune typically. So in the past they sort of allowed non-compliance. So the idea now is if we're going to rebuild properly, can we actually ensure that that is afforded those water sports and hotels and kind of whatever condo equipment, beach chairs, that kind of stuff have to be put behind dunes, and obviously that means that there has to be an existence of dunes. Or it has to be taken off of the beach,
not behind
over the seawalls.
Not behind a berm, but behind a sand dune. It's two different things, right?
I mean, should it stay on this? right
Yes,
now?
it should stay.
Okay.
And that can be
It's
addressed in
important.
that.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a matter of proper design, I think, and the opportunity afforded us by being able to rebuild the beach.
Sure. That's what we're here for, the beach.
Yeah.
Okay, let's keep
Okay.
that.
Sure.
The EC zone protections, again, this was on here just as there are ways to continue to protect this critical buffer to prevent encroachment on the beach. At the time, there was they updated the language on the EC zoning districts to, I think, allow for pools to be maintained, a couple of them that were still in the EC zone, but I think that went through, that legislation. They amended the,
What do you mean by pools? People's pools? Swimming pools?
these were multifamily pools, I think,
Oh.
were the ones that, there was a couple that were, if they can be repaired, then they didn't have to take them out and put them back behind the EC zone. I'm pretty sure that was it, so I'm not sure is that still current?
Or is it done?
Yeah, that's what.
I mean, the laws are there, I mean, you can't build in there without variance or special
How
exception.
much we
Yeah, I
can
don't
do
think
that
there's
anyway.
much we can say or do with it.
Right, okay. Beach raking and grooming compliance,
Leave
That's
that.
Leave
important.
that on there.
okay. Additional items directed by Tom, we had the beach school was requested, so we have that actually on our agenda today. And the second one was Arbor Day, some kind of tree giveaway, try to work on getting grants through Tidal Basin, but it sounds like Chad's working on that. So my intention, I think typically we support Arbor Day, right, the town itself?
It was pretty successful the last time we did it.
Right.
To the new people, we did a tree giveaway, and there was 2 different trees. Can anyone tell me which
So
ones
the
they
question
were?
is that one was a
Orange
orange,
Geiger and
the other one's mahogany.
it's like Jamaican dogwood or something.
Okay.
Or something. No.
So the question is, we'll ask our liaison. So Chad, Arbor Day, is there any reason we wouldn't be pursuing that this next year? I mean, that should be an initiative for us.
Pursuing what, sir?
Arbor Day giveaway, plant giveaway on Arbor Day?
Tree giveaway?
It's
Yeah, I think you got the trees for us, didn't you?
Yeah, I would like to make a recommendation to town council by all means.
So we should,
Yes.
okay, we'll leave that on there.
Because it's in
then.
February.
Okay,
For
we'll leave that
Florida.
on there, yeah. Well, I think the idea was if we do something that was outside of the normal Arbor Day cycle, just to green up the town after the hurricane.
Sure.
Okay, so, sure. Okay, so that stays, 3 is, accesses, fire restriction, state code, West ordinance. Oh, so one of them that came up, and I don't know if that should be on there, but this, recommendation, we made a recommendation for them to inspect compromised wastewater lines. So I just had my plumber through, and it's actually an IM plumber, and he said that every single waste line that they pulled up has been percolated, has been compromised. The old cast iron is all leaching into the ground. So, I mean, that was brought up to them. Somebody pointed to a Key West ordinance. Is that something that we should maybe
What do? They
fine
just
tune to see what's?
drop something in the toilet to see if, and then
No,
flush
they
it and see if
have,
the
they put a camera
color
on it.
goes
They
through?
put a camera
Oh, they use
through
a
it.
camera. And to see
And then
if
when you rip
leaks.
it up, they can see it's just falling apart.
Well, I think so, because I think we keep finding fecal matter in the waters around here more and more often, and it's not all from discharges from Lake O and Caloosahatchee. We're
No,
finding
all
it
of
south.
our
and
tributaries are,
So,
a lot of it's coming
I
down
think
there.
the more that happens, the more questions are going to be raised, and so we might as well start getting ahead on
Well,
that.
you can't point your finger at everybody else when you're
Right.
actually doing it yourself. So
Right,
maybe
that's-
I'll leave
that's
that
what
on
I mean.
here. I mean, again, we can prioritize them
Well,
later.
I can tell, just for discussion, after the storm, and I don't know what the rest of the buildings are doing up and down the beach, but we had to have all of our sewer lines scoped all the way out to the Estero Boulevard.
The whole
And
island, yeah.
And because they were all underwater.
Yeah.
And salt water is tremendously corrosive in the amount of time we were under, so we literally scoped all of our lines out to Estero Boulevard, and I'm sure most of the multi-resident,
Yeah, same
you know,
with you, Bill?
10
Is it
minutes.
your scope, or you don't know?
It's gonna be scoped.
Okay.
Our plumber is on board now.
Okay.
Is that an insurance requirement, or who required, or
That's-
were you
that's-
just smart enough to do it?
that's because if you don't do it in 3 years, you're gonna have to dig up your parking lot.
Okay,
Mhm.
so then everybody should, on the island should be aware of that,
It's,
even individual homeowners.
everyone that had black iron pipe underwater should have their pipe scoped, and that would be,
That's the entire island.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but the point
Wow.
is, it's a source of pollution. It's a
Okay, so
foreign.
we leave it
Yeah.
on?
So, yeah, we can leave it on there for discussion and/or, like I said, this is just, I'll go and I'll talk to the town council and they'll say, no, that's not an issue, or don't spend time on that, or we give that to staff, or do whatever. Although they don't typically give us a ton
Sounds
of
pretty
direction, they
serious.
usually.
I don't, well, you can't pass an ordinance, but you can certainly recommend to
Advise
people
people,
that
yeah.
that should be done.
Yeah, yeah,
Because some
definitely.
people have PVCs going out, some people have black iron, so you can't just make a blanket statement. But it is a concern, at least in our complex, and we've addressed it. I know a lot of other people in my situation, sitting up in charge of multi-resident buildings, have done the same thing. Whether it's been mandated or should be mandated, I think that's up to the individual.
Was it the county that flushed out the pipes underneath the streets?
That they have done that.
The
The
county
stormwater,
stormwater
That's the
Those
town,
weren't new.
isn't
No,
isn't
this
it
is,
the
we're
town?
talking about waistlines.
waistlines.
Yeah.
Waistlines, yeah. I mean, I think, well, again, it's not.
They're two different discussions.
Yeah, they're two
Discussion,
different.
and also it's not really up for discussions whether we keep it or not. That's why I was trying to be brief about this, so, yeah, that stays. So that's really about it, outside of the METRF pamphlet. I think that, I mean, we can,
Are we talking?
And
this is the
coloring book.
initiative list, again,
Okay,
stuff that we
initiative,
would
but then-
technically work on.
Are we still gonna get to the beach
School,
school
sure.
cooperation?
Well-
And, or did you just bypass one of those?
No, no, we're still working on
Oh,
initiative
oh, I
stuff.
see, okay.
So,
Yeah,
is that,
pamphlets,
is that still an initiative?
pop-up, yes, of course.
And pop-up are on there.
Pamphlet and activity book. But I'd like to speak about the activity book today.
Okay, so, and then, last meeting, you had the privately supplied sand, you had brought up. So we can leave that on for discussion, obviously. Larkin had vegetation, which is on fertilizer cards. Is that something, an initiative that we would?
No, it was just more of a reminder that we had them in the
All right,
past.
and then you had, since
And-
Jenna was in here, you had coloring book, so that's.
Yeah, well, the activity book and
That's under
coloring book
beach
is all
school
kind of the same.
cooperation?
Yeah, I think
Okay,
yeah, I
that's
think,
under beach school cooperation.
yeah, so I'll
education.
share that
Okay,
information.
well, I was saying, but on the initiative list,
Oh.
again, these are, town council, these are things we're working on, tell us which ones are most important, which ones are least important, take away the ones we're not supposed to work on, and add stuff that we're supposed to work on.
The activity book and the pamphlet are gonna be ongoing.
All right, Bill had easement from 15 to 5 years, which maybe we can talk about that during beach sand projects. Support and promote recovery, that's, Spletta had beach reviews, lighting, and the canals, commercial use of canals, which I'm not sure that's an initiative we can work on,
Right?
per se. Hal had education, of course, beach school,
Yeah, school outreach.
enforcement on the beach, which I think is covered by instructions and ranking.
Something I did want to add, I keep asking to get it on so we can discuss it again, is the propeller guards. Like I've been begging to put that on again.
All right, are you guys willing, do you think is there changes to where?
I have more ideas that I think would be more community friendly that I'd like to discuss.
So these are for the benefit of the new members, this is the prop guards.
I watched the meeting.
Okay, so do we have consensus that that would still be something we?
Humanity deaths are going up every year.
Yeah, it's not, it doesn't just protect manatees, but yeah.
Right, well, there's,
Okay,
we've identified,
That's the big thing.
in regards to the dredging, do they, after they dredge, do they do any sort of replenishment of seagrass, or is there any way to do that?
there's no
Man-made
seagrass in the
canals,
canals.
I wouldn't expect it, and in the mooring field, I would not expect it.
No. Yeah,
Just a thought.
so, question to the group is prop guards, do they stay on the initiative list? to be
Yes.
Prioritized?
I see.
All right.
That'll be a good discussion.
That.
Sure.
Well, it is, I mean, there
Talk
are,
about it.
well, I think it's worth discussing, I think the
I also think,
scientific data, but again, well, it's on. so
right, well, no, well, something else to add, I don't know if now's the time to keep.
For initiative list, yeah.
It just kind of came up with what Rose was talking about with like using social media. So we're an advisory committee, but we still have a presence in the community with our pop-ups and things like that. Could we start doing more with the social media person to when we are out, putting a new thing on the website, or if we are suggesting, because we just said it, prop guards, or a certain kind of plant that people are liking on the island, just little things, could we have, or get with the social media person to have a weekly METRF post? Is that something that would be out of our reach? Just, and I'm not saying,
Absolutely not.
No,
They're always
Jenny's-
constantly looking for
Yeah,
content.
Jenny's
Yeah.
pretty receptive for Murph to
okay,
send.
I've never
just-
met her, so.
Yeah, so
really.
she's pretty receptive for pictures and information
Okay.
and things like that, so.
So could we start adding like maybe just a quick little 5-minute thing at the end of our meetings?
Well, we can put that as an initiative, and ask the town council if they would think it'd be a great idea for
Yeah.
us to
But-
submit something on a regular basis
Yeah.
for social media.
To have a
Murph
MERF minute or something. Yeah, like a little minute video or something.
Hey man, you gotta brand it if you're gonna sell
Hey,
it.
it has to be catchy.
Brand it.
Dude, I need a minute, quick.
You look like you need a MERF minute.
So do we have consensus on social media?
I'm copywriting that.
We'll be everywhere, right? Shoreline Spotlight and Observer, we've got the Earth Minute and social media.
Oh, speaking of which, did you receive my Murphy Award?
No.
Lacey, and it was the.
Right, you owed me that, but no, I haven't received it.
Chad,
Yes,
did you get the email where I sent the Murphy Award? It was on
Sent it.
Halloween, on the 31st.
I do remember seeing something.
I guess a better question is, did you forward it on?
Is this
Anyway.
based on our, well, let me continue here.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, so Johnson had the beach, that's already on. So I think that covers everything we added last meeting. So, I'll make a motion to advise the town council on our updated initiative list and get their feedback.
I second that. Spoletta seconds.
Real quick, is the beach school cooperation on there too?
It is,
Okay,
absolutely, yep, that's the beach sand project.
good. You seconded it?
I seconded it.
Any objection? Hearing none, motion carries.
Aye.
Aye, aye, aye.
Aye.
All right, excellent. So that leads us to beach school cooperation.
Oh, good.
So there's 2 items left here. So having not noticed that we were limited to an hour,
Yeah, can I motion to extend the meeting till noon?
No, I'm not gonna be able to be here till then, I have an appointment at 11:30 and do need to get out of here. Welcome to stay in, use the room until it's.
I wish we knew.
well, it'd be difficult to get questions answered on the beach sand projects. So
So are we now discussing the beach school cooperation?
I would say so.
Okay. Can I take a lead, or no?
Sure.
Okay. So I just passed one of these out to everyone.
Yes.
And Sanibel has a C school. It's people that I've spoken with say it's been successful. I believe a council member had asked us to maybe, and I've spoken with people from Beach Kids School, and they're excited that we're going to be working on something like this for them. So I thought this would be a good start to kind of piggyback off of some of the things that Sanibel C School has done. We've been working on...
So the content you're saying?
Yeah, just to kind of give us an outline of what the things that we could do.
So this is a summer thing, right? They do this, is it like a camp, a summer camp, is that it?
Yeah, which I don't believe this is what we're going to be doing as a
Okay.
summer camp, but more incorporating a program within the curriculum at the
During the school year.
During the school year.
At what
Maybe
age levels, for the whole school?
for the whole school.
So like
Fifth
kindergarten to 5?
Or we'll get to go into the classrooms and stuff.
Or take
This
a
is all up
field
for
trip.
discussion. We're basically
Yeah.
at the very bottom, so any ideas, throw them out there. I'm thinking, so I wrote just down some ideas, and basically maybe the METRF participates like a 3-hour, once a month program. We did the kids camp this past summer, and we came here with the kids camp was here at Mound House, and we would come and do a pop-up, and we would take the kids and walk them down to the beach, and we did scavenger hunts and things like that. So the kids were extremely receptive, and they loved every minute of it. So we could do something like that once a month, maybe get a speaker
One of the
FGCU or from other areas to come and maybe speak with the teachers while we do something with the kids. So these are just some, ideas I was throwing out.
Yeah, there's a lot of NGOs and nonprofits that we can tap too, right?
Yep. And also,
I think what we need to do is we should talk to the teachers first.
I have.
Right.
I think
I have.
that at each grade level, we need to know what they're presenting in their science programs,
I'm
what are they
very familiar with
reading,
Florida
so
curriculum.
that
Yeah.
we can do something that's
So-
appropriate at each
So
given
the
age
principal
level.
has been.
We can't walk in there without, just...
Well, that's why we're discussing it. This is
Okay.
why we're discussing it. So, and right now, the school is working on their curriculum. So, once they have that down, then they'll probably guide us on time and
That should be
I would-
early.
I would like
Once
to-
we know what they're
Determine the
studying,
scope
we'll know
of
how
what
to...
they-
But also,
Don't tell us.
one of the ideas I had was kids teaching kids beach school. Basically, maybe having other schools have little, what do you call when you go on an outing to come down, and the kids can teach the other kids what they learned on the beach. So that's an idea.
I would like to put myself out there. I'm very familiar with Florida state curriculum as well as the teachers' standards, and having taught and created curriculum for Columbus Zoo, and that I'd really love to be involved highly in
Good.
this.
Well, then, so this is also,
Perfect.
and I'm going to hand this to you.
Being in front of kids and teaching is what I love
It's
to
about
do.
resources. It's
Okay, so
basic,
this is basically an outline for you. If we could just quickly go through
What
it
is it,
so
the
I can
coloring
show
book?
you. This is information about the activity book, and this is something we can also
Activity book.
incorporate into the kids, school, water school program, whatever we want to call it, environment school program. So,
So
Flippers and
can you
Feathers
actually-
are Beach Friends Forever, and this book actually this is just a front of an activity book that was handed out from Anna
That's my
Marie.
question, right.
And unfortunately, they had given me authorization to print their activity book, and as much as we wanted, it's not copyrighted. However, they passed away before they could give me the thing. So that's okay, because we now are going to create our own activity book, and I think it'll give the kids a sense of pride that the kids can share it with libraries and other schools and other areas. We can give it out at the pop-up. We can share it with other communities. So if you open it up during the kids camp, you'll find a few pages of drawings of stuff that they learned on wildlife and water quality. And then you'll get to the page where it says Flippers and Feathers Beach Friends Forever badge. So a child actually drew this for Anna Marie when they were developing this activity book. And if you turn that page, this is a picture of a key. Do you see the key? A child from our beach school drew this, and I thought it was actually very, very good. It could probably be, worked on a little bit more, but I found it very artistic and unique. If at the top of the key it says the beach beautiful, and I think what they meant was this is the key to keeping our beach beautiful. So I love that as maybe a badge on the activity book. You go to the next page, and this is Macy Knoll. I'd like to present to you. Macy Knoll has agreed to help us illustrate this activity book. She's an FGCU student, and basically there's just a bio of who she is. And then once you turn that page, these are just some illustrations that she's done for businesses and other nonprofit organizations. I love the bird, the least turns. I think she does birds beautifully. And then Dr. Gunnels, the FGCU professor, had requested or had asked if there was anything we could do for Ms. Knoll in regards to an honorarium or grant or something like that. So I contacted our town manager, and that's the last page. The last page is, I've copied Joe Osnick, Finance Director, on my reply. Joe should be able to answer your question about the donations. As far as an honorarium, I will have it to discuss with Joe and Talisa, HR Manager, also copied on this. I haven't heard back, but basically I asked her, is it basically a done deal if you don't get any honorarium? Is it basically you won't be able to help us? And she said, basically, she prioritizes, and that's understandable. She's a college student, so if we can get something for her to help us, she will be able to do it much faster. She'll be able to start on the activity book in January. So, so that's where we're at with that. Any questions?
No. I would like to make just a comment, and that's going back to the beach school. Or the C school, as you know, and everyone on the island, the school is desperately seeking to increase their enrollment.
Bingo.
And that's part of the covenant that they have with the school board, is that the student population is increasing. So if this can be utilized in the summer months to encourage students not on the island to come in and get a flavor of what is now going to be our remodeled school, and something that they're not getting where they are presently going to school, I think that would be a tremendous enrollment device.
Yes.
To try and bring more children on the island and bolster school.
Absolutely, and I think that's where the idea of getting the school their own program too will entice people that have children off island that maybe want to be marine biologists or want to get into some sort of science. If the school themselves during school season, that they have some sort of program too.
Or just getting children on the island into the school.
Right.
They don't have to become a marine biologist to go to one of the best schools in Southwest Florida.
Right. So that is, I also, just to give you a heads up on our budget, we're given $5,000. I'm not sure if you two new people know this, but we were we were given $5,000 from the Fort Myers Beach Community Foundation, and then from a private resident, another $4,700, I believe. So that money is still there for us. It will not go away. I believe we allocated $5,000 to go towards this activity book for printing costs, which it doesn't go very far when it comes to activity books. But so far, we've allocated $5,000, and I believe, or maybe actually more. I take that back. Maybe $8,000. I can't remember. We discussed it and we passed it.
Yeah, I don't remember a number, Jen.
And I believe $1,000 or $2,000 to go towards pop-up supplies. My problem that I'm having is now I'm back to buying all the supplies myself because I don't have anybody to order stuff. But I think maybe I'll talk to Andy and see if somebody is going to start ordering supplies for me again.
Okay, so my comment on this is the way I see it is we have, basically Murph has a budget of just under 10K.
Mm-hmm.
And so right now that's going to be used, and I don't expect any funding from the town this year, just because of the 44% reduction in ad valorem taxes revenue. So I don't feel that we need to ask, but so that's the 10K. We're lucky to have that actually. So you've got the coloring book and you've got the move pop-up. I think from my perspective, I mean, you have the authority to figure out activity book, to figure out how much you need for the pop-up and how much, for the
So I can go ahead and start proceeding with looking at printing companies and prices and things like that, and then come back next month with what it's going to cost. I probably need to get the activity book done first. So are all of you okay with maybe asking town council, or I don't know if it's just going to Andy and asking for if there's some sort of honorarium that we can give to this young lady, this student?
From town funds or from?
Correct, because they have been asking for grants, and they do have grants and things like that, so.
You gotta ask for the order, right? You don't know the answer until you ask, so.
Do we go to town council or do we go just to the town manager?
I thought that's what you were doing. Didn't you say you wrote to somebody and they said they were working on it?
Yeah, but that was like,
Well, that was a while ago.
yeah, so I don't know if I just,
I'd go to, probably the town manager.
Andy, okay. All right, so go to Andy, okay.
Yeah.
But we're all in agreement that this student should have some sort of honorarium to.
Yeah, I would move that we at least ask for an honorarium.
Yeah, there's gotta be some expertise, and I'm not a graphic artist, and so.
And you can see that she is talented, so.
Yeah.
Is this something that, because of sunshine law, we can't discuss outside of our meetings here, is specifically working on this once we get to a point where we can?
Well, it'll be
Something
her
that-
doing the illustration.
Well, I know, but making the curriculum and stuff like that, and for us going into the school or whatever it may be, is that something
That's the program, we're talking about the activity book.
Well, I know, but it's got to go hand in hand. So once she's done, I'm thinking, should we have a meeting specifically for those who want to, a public meeting, since we can't talk about it outside of here, where we can specifically
Schedule a workshop.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Sure.
we'll have to.
We can do
Yeah, the attorney
We have
said
to,
that
that's
just
what
have to
they said.
notify Amy of the days of when we would meet.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Just
good
you just
idea.
have to notice the
Good
meeting,
idea.
yeah. So to get back to beach school cooperation, so we need the nuts and bolts here though. So the way I see it is we have to talk to the teachers first, right? So you can determine the scope of the cooperation. So who, do we have a volunteer to do that?
I mean, I had Chantel over at my house the other day, and she spoke with the principal, and the principal said, that they're working on their curriculum, and then, let me see if I can.
So are we gonna work,
So I've got-
Chantel's the president of the PTO right now?
I believe so, yes.
And then, so you've got the actual
principal.
administrators, the educators themselves, and then you have the.
So let me just see if I can find her.
And they're working on the curriculum, but then you also have to consider there's that state Florida curriculum, so.
So
We also have to be very respectful of teachers' time. I mean, you say 3 hours, but
Well, that
these
was-
teachers are already having such a hard time putting in what they have to. And this is talking from experience. It's
Go ahead.
something where we need to not just be like, hey, this is what we're offering, because they're not just going to take it. It's something that they have to want.
Okay, so from the principal,
Because it's gonna be hard for
she
them.
said,
They
the
reached out to
principal,
us, yeah.
so the principal said, we can plan a meeting to discuss. There is a lot to consider, including standards, alignment, and supportive activities.
Right.
I'm all in for it. Just need time to lay out our academics first.
Okay.
Thank you, Jennifer. You're amazing. I'm just kidding.
So you'll be taking the lead then to attend this, to
I would
to
be,
move this
I would be
forward?
happy if
Okay.
everyone else agrees.
Because, yeah, I mean, they reached out to us initially, I believe.
And then one of the council members
And
brought it
then,
up.
and then Jim supported it because he worked closely with them on reopening the beach school, so.
Well, and I'm only talking from experience but it's one thing for like the school to reach out, it's one thing for the superintendent or whoever it may be to reach out, but the individual teachers, they're the ones that are getting stuff shoved on their shoulders. And it's
I would
really,
think it's kind of taking a little bit off their.
that's what I would think too,
Yeah.
but, so for my Ranger Rob stuff, like I'm nationwide doing Zoom outreach programs. And it's something where the principals love it. But when it's actually the teachers, it's more for them to worry about. And not saying they don't like it, not saying they don't want it,
Yeah.
but each individual teacher is very different.
And when it comes
That's
to
all
time,
important.
I just threw out the 3 hours. It could be an hour.
Yeah.
I mean, what, that's,
It's their expectation.
Yeah.
There's just a lot on the shoulders, we just want to be
We
respectful.
won't know what those are until Jennifer reports back
Mhm.
to exactly what the
And
expectations
you
are.
might want to do the combination grade
And
level
then, and
thing.
then we would go
Yeah,
through the process
combination
of
grade level.
determining the resources required to meet those expectations and find out how we're gonna do it. So at this point, we
This is all discussion.
sort of table it. We all know what's going on, and then we'll wait for you to communicate that you have an update for us and we add it to the agenda. Sound like a plan?
yes.
Okay. Any other questions on the beach school cooperation?
I would have
We
one
need to find
thing.
out what they have available, like they had kayaks there in the summer, do they still, what do they have? Is it,
That, I guess when we
Find
get
out-
to
yeah,
the
we'll
meeting,
find out.
I'll
No,
find out.
that was from the Mountain House.
That's a Mountain House.
That was not the school.
oh,
Yeah, I don't think the
okay.
school does that. That's liability. I don't know about that, getting kids on the water.
Which is my question. Is there a form for the parents to sign off on their child having their name published?
That
Yeah,
too.
yes.
Yeah.
There has to be an illegal form that maybe this
Yep,
district attorney.
That was Jeff. Jeff handed all these to me. All the
Okay.
drawings, all the fun drawings, and I had asked if it was authorized, and he said yes.
There has to be a signed consent for each.
Okay.
Maybe he has that. That's the
Okay.
town. That's,
Okay.
that's on the town.
Okay.
That was
All right.
their camp.
Saying next time.
Yeah, I think so. Well, that's good.
So Jen, when are you meeting then with
I
the
don't
teachers? You
know.
don't know
I
yet?
just got this
Yeah, no.
text message
Okay.
last night.
Let me know, because if I can, I will go. I would be very interested.
I don't believe you and I can go together under sunshine law unless we announce it and it's filmed.
Right.
Well, that's lousy.
But no, that was what was
Is
at the
that
last
in fact
meeting.
true, Jack?
Cats. So-
If both Jen and I can't go meet with the teachers about this because of the
Eh.
sunshine law?
I would encourage y'all to work with Ashley. She's our educational coordinator. She's already working with the school. That may be a good resource for y'all.
Okay. But could we meet with her with
When
one
Jen meets,
or more of them?
can I go too, or?
I'm not a lawyer.
As
so I
long
can't
as
give
you're
you
posted.
advice, But it is committee business. Y'all made a committee business and y'all are meeting together to talk committee business in a non-meeting, so it may be an issue.
Yeah.
Attorney Voss said last time that if you notified Amy to post it, then it was okay.
Yeah.
But
But
you
you
have
still
to post it ahead of time so
you're
that the
gonna have a
public knows.
meeting that the whole public can come and meet the principal?
Why not?
No.
I don't think
No.
so, but it did say this.
But I mean, why not leave it open to them? I'm not saying people will come, but.
No, it's not realistic. That's not realistic. I mean, if people are worried that,
Not like that,
You know what, actually,
I would hope not.
Rose, would you like to take the reins on this?
No, I
Because
wouldn't.
Because you're the
No,
educator.
you have a handle on everything
Well,
that's going on.
Wendy,
I would
yeah,
willingly
is our
help.
other educator, yeah.
But I don't want to be in charge of it. No, you are. You've done too much on it already, Jen,
Okay,
to stop now.
You already know.
Keep the momentum.
okay.
But
Okay,
it just seems
so
ridiculous that.
Yeah.
since we've had to truncate the meeting here, we'll move Beach Sands to projects to the next meeting. And so members' items and reports,
We can keep the meeting going without Chad, or do we have to? just chat
Well,
meeting?
the thing
No,
about the
we need
Beach End
Chad.
projects, he's got all
We need
the.
Chad.
He's got, I mean, there's a lot of questions.
He's an important
A
man.
lot of questions that he answered, yeah, so. So, members' items and reports.
Can we do staff reports? Can we
Oh,
move
yeah.
since he's about to leave?
He's going, he's going. Grab him by the shirt.
You know, we're working to put $40 million worth of sand on the beach. We're waiting for U.S. Army Corps to issue a permit for the big renourishment project, which has pushed our project back to January at best, which is of concern because we only have until February 15th to put sand on the beach on the south end of the CWA where it's needed most. We got funding from FDM for additional sand placement on the natural beach, which we put together a project for that, and that should be going out to bid soon.
When would you expect that to commence?
Sorry?
When would you expect that to commence?
For what to commence?
For the project, the additional beach sand project, 1.9
It's
million?
typically a 30-day invitation to bid process, barring any protests, you know, within 60 days at best.
Is that the length of the island then? Are we only talking about a specific area?
So there's two projects mentioned there. The renourishment project is from Bowditch to Lanark, and then in the CW area from Cresciente to Sun Caper, kinda. And then the money that we received from FDEP is going to be used to supplement the north end, the engineered beach. That was 1.89 million, and the approximately 8 million that we're expecting from FDM would be used on the natural beach, which would be from more or less Margaritaville south to Big Carlos Pass.
So the south end isn't being renourished as part of the renourishment project? Let's say from, you said it ended at Sun Caper, the renourishment project?
Correct.
Was that by request, or were they not considered critically eroded?
That was to renourish the CWA area. That's the
But
critical wildlife.
south of the critical wildlife area?
For the renourishment project?
Yeah.
There's no ECL there. We weren't going to establish an ECL there. It's not designated as critically eroded.
It's not designated as critically eroded.
Correct.
Well, that's gonna throw 150 feet of sand in front of what we have right now, right?
Yes, sir. Looking forward to it.
Yes.
And we are recommencing the berm project. FEMA approved $1.3 million in additional sand, which will be, again, starting that berm project up right around Shamron, continuing with that. I know there's some concerns it was a little light. We are addressing that. You're at the end of the sand, so it's going to be addressed. And we also be continuing that berm along the 7,000 block and the 8,000 blocks.
But that wasn't eligible for the FEMA berm, though, correct?
Where it was eligible, we will be continuing, and those are the 7,000.
Where it was eligible, yeah, but I mean, there's a portion there that was ineligible, right, for the category G or?
Correct.
Right, so, and why was that ineligible?
I can talk to the engineer on the specific technicalities of that.
I mean, just, you don't know, or there was there a height restriction?
I'd rather speak to the engineer and understand the FEMA criteria and why it was not ineligible than give you an answer off the dome.
All right, well, I guess we'll have to save that for an agenda item, because I think there's a lot of questions. And this is all state sand, it's all taxpayer-paid sand that we're receiving.
So does the berm go from what used to be the Holiday Inn all the way south? Chad, is it going to go all the way to the end?
Yes.
And then when you're talking about that other renourishment, that's coming the other way. That's what they're pulling up from the Gulf and shooting up. So we're talking two different things.
Yeah, there are
Oh, yeah.
three different projects happening right now and several different funding sources, so it is complicated.
Can you, the next meeting we have, can you explain all of that to us in more detail? I feel like people ask me questions and I'm not exactly sure what happens where.
Feel free to send them to me. I'm happy to answer the questions.
Okay. Okay.
But I think as a committee, we should be all informed as well. So when we're out on the street talking to our neighbors, that we're all very educated on what is happening with these tax dollars.
Absolutely.
Right, it needs to be equitable.
What about, for example, a house that's on the beach that is on the beach and also backs up to a road, and there's an escarpment that basically the Miramar Street beach access. If they don't ask for the sand, that escarpment just stays there, or
Turn on private property or on beach access?
it's on private property, but it's also part of the road too. Some of the road has fallen in as well. So who takes care of something like that?
You talk to Public Works about the road.
But
What about the sand?
What about the sand?
I mean, they would be,
We're going to be renourishing the beach accesses along with this, with the FDM money.
just the priority accesses or all the accesses?
All of them.
But if the house is not, I mean, I guess it butts up to a beach access, but it's, the escarpment is actually
It's
on their
private
property.
land.
It's private land, so
Right, so I would check to see if they have an easement, and we may need to put sand there to support whatever we're doing in the access. Just each access is circumstantial depending on what's happened there.
But if there's a need for sand there, wouldn't they also have the right to get some of that state taxpayer sand versus the other projects that it's sort of being directed toward?
Again, I would have to see if there's an easement there. I mean, just because they, I wouldn't want to go and put something on somebody's private property and cause a legal issue.
Right, but so these additional, let's say the berms that are being put on the non-eligible FEMA area, that's state property, are they signing easements? So those easements include the berm being planted, like a managed beach zone? Or is there any obligation from the property owner that's receiving all this public sand? Is there any obligation to them? I mean, is there?
Depends on where we're talking about. There's vegetation already in front of those areas that may not be required to.
Is it permit? Is that permit that I'm sure it is, any beach sand going on, it's permitted, correct?
Sand is never permanent, it's always considered sacrificial.
Even though it's put up on this, above the near the seawall, it's sacrificial. Wait a minute, so you're saying that putting sand on the beach is sacrificial, so it's not permitted? I mean, we have a permit for the entire beach renourishment, correct, from the DEP? Is that true?
I'm not quite following, I'm sorry.
Well, we do. We have a DEP permit for the renourishment of our beach, correct? Right? So you're saying that if a property owner puts sand on their property within the EC zone or the CCCL,
A storm can wash it away tomorrow and it's considered sacrificial.
so you don't need a permit. So,
That's not what I said.
well,
You do need
you're
a
not
permit.
answering my question either. My question is, do you have to have a permit?
You have to have a permit to put sand on the beach, yes.
Okay, that was my question, and you said no, it's sacrificial. Is that,
Sacrificial and needing a permit are not mutually exclusive.
my question was does it need to be permitted?
Yes, it needs to be permitted.
Okay, thank you.
Almost all sand going on the beach, whether it's privately purchased or coming in, has to be permanent.
Of course, of course.
It's the way it is at DEP.
Right, so the question again is, what if the taxpayers are paying for sand to be put on private property, what kind of obligation do they have for that sand?
That depends on
Because-
where the sand is coming from and what government agency is funding the
If it's a
sand.
government agency, it's
not private.
taxpayer money.
Well, there's a lot of different,
Is that,
and I'm not an attorney on it, that is one of the reasons why there's a lot of private property beach owners that have not granted an easement for any sand going on the beach because of that issue going forward where you have taxpayer-funded sand
And that's-
going on private property.
And that's their decision, and that's fine, that's
That is correct.
correct. But there are also people that are signing easements to get public sand put on their beach. And as a result of that, they are required to have a managed beach zone. They have to put a dune in, a planted dune. They also establish an environmental control line if it's not already established.
So both those things are not necessarily true. You should read the dune management plan more thoroughly, because if there is vegetation, they're not required to plant vegetation additionally.
As long as it's 75% of the width of the...
Correct.
Right. So there has to be, again, thank you for that clarification. If it's a blank beach, you have to put 75% of the width of the property, a dune, correct? If they have 25%, they have to have 50%. But again, they have a requirement in order to receive publicly paid for sand.
Not if they already have a vegetated beach.
The required vegetation.
Right.
But if they don't have that required vegetation, it's on them to put it in.
If there's already green on the beach and it's been planted in the past and there's green going out, as there are several properties, I think on the south end, that have quite a bit of greenery in front, then they are not obligated to plant a dune if it's an emergency dune, as I understand the law, and I'm not an attorney.
But that is correct.
Right.
If you got a vegetated beach, the emergency berm does not need vegetation planting.
But the area that's being
But this isn't
replanted,
this isn't an emergency
renourishment.
burn. This isn't a FEMA burn.
So FEMA doesn't require vegetation.
Right. But it's also my point. It's not a FEMA burn.
The state money that has been gifted does not require vegetation.
But that would be for any property owner, correct? That would be the
No.
Scour over
So we would
Miramar,
still-
that would be any property owner, or even potentially that sand could be used to firm
Again.
up the emergency berm that was lost during Idalia.
Read the dune management plan. That's what's going to.
That's not what I'm suggesting, anything about the dune management plan. My question is the allocation of the state sand and the priorities. It needs to be equitable. Every resident is a taxpayer and is paying for that sand as well as the rest of the state.
Are you suggesting that it's not equitable?
Well, has it been offered to other beachfront owners?
We're putting sand up and down the beach. I've tried to give it to people who won't even take it, right, Mr. Dave?
It's correct. Pretty certain it's been offered to everybody with beachfront property all
Is
around.
that's the beach renourishment?
On pretty much everything.
The
Chairman.
beach project?
Basically.
Every project, I can,
So
Every
you,
beachfront property owner's been.
So you've been
asked for an
approached.
easement. Every beachfront property owner's been, we're trying to
Absolutely.
fill in
so you've been
scalars.
approached with this last FDM grant?
I've been approached for every beach renourishment
Well, I'm
project.
sure you have. Has every resident?
I can only speak for the condominium presidents that I talked to and talking with Chad, but I can assure you that everyone that I have talked to that has beachfront property in our condominium association group has been contacted by Chad. Now, an individual property owner, I can't answer that, but to the best of my knowledge, in talking with all of them, and Bill is also a member of the same group I belong to.
Sure.
We have all been contacted numerous times by the town staff. Do you wish to sign an easement? Here's the sand you can get. It's FEMA sand, it's an emergency berm sand, it's beach renourishment sand, you can re-engineer your beach sand. It's been numerous times.
So what's interesting is that, first of all, we don't know if everybody's been offered that,
Right.
obviously.
I
So he'd need to,
Chad, I have discussed this at length with Chad, and he has, and the town, by the way, has had it on their website almost
From day one.
from day one.
what's that?
If you want sand,
Oh, the easement, you mean?
no,
To get
they
the
have,
sand.
they have said, if you want sand, call us. It is, I mean, short of them going and knocking on every door They have done, I think, an exemplary job of contacting every beach property owner saying, if you want sand, here's how to get sand.
So I wonder why a beach resident that has such a huge, deep escarpment, like 10 feet deep, that butts up along a road, why they wouldn't have accepted sand, because it's a liability.
I can't answer that.
I already know 2 people that
Yeah,
have
we can
fallen.
answer that. There's a lot of, a lot of people that are, I mean, you can see the maps of who's signing easements, who's not, who's been unresponsive. There's still a lot of unresponsive.
And there's a lot of, going back to the town several years ago, there were, and during some of the other beach renourishments, there were a lot of, I guess, promises made that weren't kept, and a lot of issues that came up that created a lot of distrust among a lot of beachfront property owners. There's a lot of those people that have said, I don't want to get involved in it this time around. So, and it is what it is. I mean, I'm not, bringing up anything that Chad and the rest of the town are not aware of.
Right.
It's just there are people that have a distrust on a beach renourishment from the last go-round and have opted to ignore it. Right. In fact, Councilor Beach came in and at one point said, why don't we just put sand on the property for those that ignore it? And the town attorney, the previous town attorney, almost had.
Yeah, that's actually what happened with the FEMA berm,
Yeah,
right? I mean, that was a unilateral decision by town staff to, unless they have a hard no, the sand's going up on the berm.
until
And
the
again,
town attorney said.
Well, it
"Don't
was
do
done. It was done though.
Well, yes, on the last,
It was done.
It was years ago, right?
No, this is the emergency berm. The FEMA emergency berm sand was placed on properties without work easements.
not this last
Yeah, I mean,
one.
that's a fact. It's just, I'm glad because
This
as an upland owner, I mean, we have to protect the
This, on the last emergency berm, they placed sand on.
FEMA berm, right? That's the emergency berm.
That's the emergency berm. I don't believe they put any sand on any property without the owner signing an
no,
easement.
unless there was a hard no, there was no easements required. They ignored
That
the
is
need for
untrue.
an easement. Oh, no.
That's an incorrect statement.
Absolutely not.
Where's Chad? We need him.
Absolutely
Yeah.
not, Dave.
That's why we really should table this until the next
Right,
time.
exactly.
Yeah,
That's
let's-
the unfortunate
Yeah, we need to
aspect
know
of it.
whether that in fact is
But
true.
without question, that was a unilateral decision to just do it, which again, legally, I'm sure that's not the good standing, but as a
I will tell you,
Silence gives
property
consent.
owner on the island, I'm glad, because obviously that's the resilience of the uplands is same as it is for anyone.
but the easement is a bone of contention with a lot of people, either experienced before, they don't want to get involved with it this time.
Oh, I realize that,
And
and that's a
then the
personal
easement
decision.
itself, when they're asking for an extended period of time, that sticks in everybody's throat too.
Yeah, I think that might be a result of the permit, maybe, the DEP permit for the
The
next
length of time,
couple of years.
it's the verbiage in the easement, there's a lot of.
Easement is.
Sure, again, that's a legal personal decision for each property owner.
That's correct.
That's fine. So the question though becomes is there sand being placed when an easement isn't being signed anywhere?
I don't know. To
For
my
the-
knowledge,
right.
to my knowledge,
The
no.
answer is no.
Right.
But again, Chad will have that for the next meeting.
Right.
Yeah, we need to find that out.
Well, I mean, they've
Well,
presented it a number of times.
I don't know why it's an issue here for this committee, because the town is running 3 different sand programs, and because we're advisory, we can go in and tell the town, look, make sure everybody gets contacted and place the sand, but I don't know why that's a concern here.
Well, I'll tell you why it's a concern. The beach, we're a committee of environment, beach, water, plants, and so the concern is to keep our beaches as healthy as possible. That's with vegetation, that's with maybe, taking care of our rack line. That's why it's a concern for METRF, at least that's my opinion, why it's a concern for METRF.
Okay, but the mission statement of METRF is to, if you read this mission statement, and I don't have it right here in front of me, it's to ensure that the economic health of the beach promotes everyone.
Yes,
You know,
Exactly.
the landowners and the rest, and I don't have it
If
right
the beach
here.
isn't healthy, no one will be here.
And that's correct, and
In the upland community as well, right? So people on the other side of Estero Boulevard also.
and wildlife and.
Need to be protected from a resiliency standpoint,
do you have
right?
it there? Do you have it there?
The Marine Environmental Resource Task Group responsibilities?
Yes. Could you read that again, please?
Sure, that'd be
All
great.
right. METRF exists to promote stewardess of marine resources. This includes stopping further damage and rehabilitating Estero Bay and its surroundings waters, wildlife, plant life, and air and water quality. The task force purpose also involves bringing Estero Bay and the surrounding waters and the Estero Island shoreline to the point that they will continue to be the driving force of the town's economy. The goal is to sustain the quality of life in cooperation with all whose livelihoods or lifestyles depend on the health of Estero Bay. That
is it. And if you see the paper that you're reading that off of, do you see a picture there? See that picture? There's a sign in the back, that's actually of the Marine Resource Environmental Resource Task Force pop-up booth. And the sign there, I don't know if you can read the sign.
no.
But basically, the sign that the town made for us is that we are stewards of all things environmental, and so water, beach, just as what you read, those are basically what METRF, works on, is to keep our beaches and our water and our island, our barrier island, as healthy as possible for everyone.
For everyone.
For everyone. So
And-
that's what we're doing here.
And
And that's why it is a concern.
And the beachfront property owners have as much vested interest in maintaining the health and viability of the beach as anyone on the island, because without the health of our
Which is why the
beach,
decisions
which
being
is-
made should be educationally
Please.
shaped.
which is why the health of our beach is paramount to every beach property owner. However, there is also a balance between what is considered a good beach here and what is considered a good beach there. Case in point, snowy plovers love a non-vegetated flat beach for nesting.
But that's a misnomer you have in your head. They don't like it hard. They don't like it flat.
That's
not
So I think we're getting off.
Yeah,
We're getting off topic here.
You're trying to make points that aren't accurate.
There's some concern, I think we need a good
Yeah.
discussion with, about the sand projects. In the fact that they first of all need to be equitable because it's taxpayer sand.
And I guess my
That's what
point,
concerns me, is it equitable? Because it seems to me, if there are restrictions on one group of people
That's the
receiving
point.
sand, those restrictions should apply
Anybody
to
else
other
who
people
understand, that's
receiving
exactly
that.
right.
And that's why I wish Chad were here, so
Right.
that we
So
could
since
ask
he's
him
not-
specifically,
Then we'll
if
table
that's
it.
true. And if not, why? Is it a different type of grant? Is it a different type of whatever?
So,
So maybe at the next meeting, we will have
we will set the
some
agenda for the next
specific
meeting.
answers.
If we can get through this one. So, members' items and reports. We're going to start from the middle of the group. Rose?
I'm
Say your name a second.
gonna follow up on your request for both a list of invasive plants, but it was also native plants. Now, I'm not supporting this particular business, but the owner had been a Master Gardener volunteer and a Native Florida Plant Society person, and had created a pictograph of hundreds of plants. So on the town's website, there is a short little PowerPoint video of intro to native plants that I did back in February. But this particular business has listed hundreds of them by wildflowers, ground cover, shrubs, trees, etc. It's available at the pop-up every other Friday from 9 to 1 p.m. And I'll just say that, advertise, stop by.
Good. And thank you for finding the 7 layers down and bringing that up.
Right.
That was a challenge.
Right.
I mean, it took me 20 minutes to get to what I was looking for.
And you even knew to be looking. Most
And I
people
was
don't.
looking for it.
Yeah, most people don't know to
It's a
look.
good
so.
point.
Which way we're going?
You're next.
Okay,
You're next.
great.
We're gonna just hopscotch around this thing.
Okay, so let's see. Okay, so I'll just piggyback off of the pop-up. Murph's pop-up at Farmers Market has been more than successful. We've had hundreds and hundreds of visitors to the Murph pop-up. The newest thing to the pop-up has been the Native Plant Society giving away free plants to get FMB green again, and it's been extremely successful, and people are very grateful, and so that's awesome. And then I guess I'm not sure if this is really a Murph subject, but the nonprofits that are especially specifically on Estero Island, such as Women's Club and the Community Foundation, have been working really hard to keep the community together by lending a helping hand since Hurricane Ian. They too lost a lot of things and everything. They should be given monetary grace to use the Mound House and grounds for fundraising events. This only helps promote our island's resources as well. We should ask council to waive fees for them for 2023 and 2024 for once a month, maybe for a once a month meeting or a fundraiser event. And I was told that they're being charged if they want to have an event here, and this is a town resource, and I believe that they have, helped us out, many residents and people that own property here on this island, and I feel like we should give them grace to help fundraise and give it back to the community. So I would, like to approach town council on waiving any fees for fundraising. And that's just the 2 nonprofits that are here on the island. The nonprofits that are on the island.
So you'd include all nonprofits?
Yeah. I was just bringing those 2 up because, I'm a part of both of them, so. Not active nonprofits, maybe.
Understood.
Okay. Any thoughts? Is it a
So,
discussion?
I think
or
that
no?
anything that's.
What were the 2
community like
nonprofits?
that.
Sorry.
The ones I listed was Fort Myers Beach Community Foundation and the Fort Myers Beach Women's Club, who lost their whole building.
No.
So you're
But I would-
suggesting that they should have fees waived for activities?
For like a
Okay.
once a month, it can be limited, once a month meeting perhaps here in this room, maybe an event, a one-time fundraiser event, just something to give back to these nonprofits who have given so much to the community.
And I would only echo that it include all nonprofits on the island.
Thank you, yeah.
You have
Fort
to,
Myers
right,
Beach
got the
Arts
equitable.
Association,
Yeah, of course.
is another one.
Is that our position?
Fort Myers
from the
Beach
Murph Board?
Art Association.
Oh, yeah, the artists, yes, I'm sorry, I should have mentioned that as well, but I don't know them all, so I'm sure there's more
Well,
than
and
just
that's
those
the
3.
issue. We don't know how
Oh,
many there are.
the historical house. Yeah, I just think it would be nice, maybe just for this year, the end of this year and next year.
I think it's a great idea. I'm not sure it's in the purview of Murph to recommend it.
I know, that's why I wasn't sure.
So that'd be
but-
more, I would recommend
Yes,
public comment.
Exactly.
maybe,
I'll suggest that as a private citizen.
Well, maybe
Public
we can-
comment or
Maybe we can
counselor.
all, maybe we can all do
Right.
that. And maybe you
Right.
can all support that idea by
Okay.
writing.
It's a good members report.
Or anyone listening, please write town council.
Okay, how about you, Rob?
I got the green light after my surgery to get back to work, so I'll be doing naturalist activities again on Fort Myers Beach starting next week. So I'm excited about that.
Back to the pink shell.
Back to Pink Shell again. They're finally getting to a point. Thank
Yeah.
you. Yeah, I lost my job because of the hurricane, so back
Back in business.
in business. Yeah, they're still growing, but yeah, 'cause there's a long way to go. But so that'll be cool. So We'll probably be popping up at the pop-ups more now.
Yeah, and
Thank
you know,
goodness.
to the two new people, if you'd like
I've been
to,
freezing for the last 4 years.
to the new,
Hit me bad.
excuse me, to the two new people, I welcome you both to come to the pop-up if you want to spend a few hours or just come and check it out. I'd really appreciate it.
Okay.
I'd appreciate the support.
And otherwise, I think we kind of touched on everything else I wanted to bring up. Sorry I got too excited about your school. I love teaching kids. So
Oh,
I didn't mean to like
No,
come
no.
at you with like, I want to do it.
No, of
But
course. I think
I love
it, you know,
teaching,
I'm
so.
excited for that. I think the school's gonna be. I think the school will benefit. Just Mr.
I just want to help
Espel.
however I can, so I'll leave that up to you because you're still
Yeah, okay.
mapping that
We'll
out.
figure it out.
That's all for me.
The only thing that I'd like to mention is that I'm having a little situation with unleashed dogs on the beach. It seems because there are so few of us, people feel they can just let the dog run around, it feels like. And the problem is we have a lot of wonderful birds out there nowadays. And by the time you get a chance to get up to the person and ask them to please put their dog on lead because it's too late, the birds have already flown, and their answer is, well, they'll just come back. Which is true, they come back, but they use up their energy. And every dog going by flushes them, and they get... So, I don't know, I can't really fault our code enforcement, you know, when they're there, they do it. But I think that all of us need, when we see dogs off beach, to at least let people know that we would appreciate it if they would follow our rules. We have a leash law, we have it for a reason.
From my experience over the years living here, is that most of the people that are letting their dogs off leash actually know that they're not supposed
They
to.
do,
And
yes.
their response is usually with a finger.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's unfortunate, but what do we do to overcome
I don't
that?
know.
And
That's why I'm
that's the
bringing it up.
biggest question is what do we do to overcome the mentality of the we'll do Wild Wild West, we'll do what we want, you know?
And you know, I can understand their point. If they live close by and they're just zipping out with their dog, they don't even think about it. And they don't want to be corrected. They certainly don't. But we need to educate them.
I was
because
at
it's
the
a detriment.
I was at the vet before Ian, and unfortunately, a family had their dog had to be put down because it was off leash by Times Square, ran out into the street
Oh,
and got
gosh.
hit by a car. And they kept telling the lady at the front desk, they were sobbing, it was kids, it was a
Yeah.
devastating experience for them. And they kept telling the lady at the front desk, we didn't know our dog had to be on leash. And the vet said, well, it's actually a Florida law.
That's just it.
It's a Florida
Yeah,
law.
the issue
So
I
I'm just
have
asking
is-
for everyone's help.
The issue I have is there's a chance of the dog defecating and not being able to
I've
see
seen
it
2
when they're off
piles
the leash is the
just
problem.
yesterday.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
the second is actually jeopardizes, I'm a pet owner also, jeopardizes pet owners because eventually they'll disallow dogs on the beach because people
Yeah.
can't follow the rules.
Right.
And those that do then have a problem.
Usually that's my response. I
It's unique that we
basically,
allow
I
to have
basically
dogs on
say
the beach.
if you don't put your dog on a leash, you're gonna ruin it for all of us that have dogs. We want to be
Okay,
able
so that's all we can
The
say.
easiest deterrent I've found, other than I'm probably not quite as tolerant as you are when I go up to them, and I just tell them the beach is still filled with sharp objects, and unless
That's true, too.
you control your dog, they will get a cut. And I said, and I would hate to see your animal pass away like some of the others that had an infection on the beach that couldn't be cured. And it seemed, it works very well.
Yeah, it does work. That works. But also another thing that I had actually said was I reminded somebody that do you know our water's pollution? It's 25% of our pollution in our waterways is feces from pets. That's a
They
Let's
get to
worldwide.
that.
stop this conversation. It's
Okay,
deteriorating.
is there anything else on your?
We got to the toilet now.
it's
Okay,
informative.
I'll pass it along to member
Okay, I only have one item, and I was made aware from Florida Fish and Wildlife Commission that they've delayed the effective date for the imperiled beach nesting bird guidelines. It is going from, actually it was supposed to go into effect October 1st, and they have moved it to October 1st of 2024. And they said the rationale behind it is at the October Commission meeting, the commissioners approved an effective delay from September 2023 to October 1st, 2024 for the imperiled permitting guidelines. A change allows for additional time to recruit and train permitted monitors and to continue engaging with stakeholders in hurricane impacted areas, the private sector, and potential permittees. Staff will continue to focus on avoidance of impacts and evaluate existing permit applications on a case-by-case basis. So basically, they've delayed implementing this for a year. And I believe it will give the beach owners and stakeholders on the beach a chance to work with FWC. I don't know if the committee is aware of this, but there are several, all of the condos on the south end have a contract with FWC.
Agreement, yeah.
And that agreement is a 10-year agreement, and FWC is now on their new guidelines forcing the property owners there to pay if the birds are taken, and they use the word taken very loosely. It means harassed, bothered, whatever. And many of contracted property owners that are also condominiums were very upset on the new guidelines because they said, look, we have to give up our property for 6 to 7 months out of the year because it's roped off and they can't go on it. And then at the end of the time, we have to pay to have the property re-raked and get rid of all of the sand spurs. And before, FWC was providing payment for that, and they have, in the new guidelines, discontinued that funding. So there were a lot of issues coming out of the south end of the island. I've been contacted by numerous ones. Apparently that feedback got back up to FWC, so they've delayed it, and I think they're looking at trying to find a better workable solution before the guidelines go into effect. So I will try and, since I'm now become the go-to person for a lot of people talking to that, I will try and keep the committee advised of what's going on and what steps going forward.
Yep.
Okay.
I'm not sure where that, yeah. Yeah, I saw that they extended it by a year, basically.
That's all I have.
Okay.
Yeah, just want to make sure that on the, all the sand, it's a big conversation for Chad next time too. To make sure the owners get to pick what 25% of their beachfront, that they can choose how they want that clear of vegetation.
Right.
It is 75% has to be vegetated,
Correct. Yep.
and the other 25% they can pick, 3 paths, 1 path, whatever.
Right.
But I'd like to have the owners involved with that.
They're not?
My understanding is they are, but that's certainly something you can bring up.
Yeah, reinforce it.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I thought that, I would think that they are involved in it already.
Well,
Well,
not yet. They haven't got there yet. My understanding is
Not exactly, but
Yeah.
coastal engineering.
that's
hasn't-
another hour's worth of conversation.
Coastal engineering hasn't designed done the, let's call it the architecture for it yet, is my understanding. So, but having worked on the managed beach zone requirements at METRF, I mean, that was always part of it, was you tell us where you want it. We can't tell you, you have to have it here. I mean, that makes no sense. That wouldn't be fair to anybody.
For
we
some
just want to
reason-
make sure that doesn't happen.
Exactly.
Well, it's fair because again, decisions are made like that, and it's like, nope. But I have,
That's the thing, the town seems to sometimes make decisions without even, the people knowing what these decisions are.
Well, I'm not saying who did what, when, how. I'm just saying going forward, I'd like to make sure the beachfront owners have a say in that. That's all.
Should we make that
That's a
put
valid
that
point.
an initiative?
No,
No,
you don't need to. It's
Just a recommendation.
Yeah.
Common sense.
That's
Talk
part
to
of it.
people that
It's
are
all
affected.
common sense.
Yeah. All right, so, my members' reports are, just on this intensity and density, if we do want to pursue that, we need to just secure some type of speaker. So, throwing it out there, that if you have any ideas, and see if you can find that, most likely it's an academic
For
of
the
some kind.
rebuilding?
Yeah, just remember,
You had that doctor from.
Dr. Gunnels,
yeah,
yeah.
a guy like, I mean, somebody who's the next, you know, who's learned in all the different things that we were gonna spend time looking into to come in and address
Didn't
us.
they keep
and then we
the
can-
comp plan the same as?
The comp plan?
Yeah, for rebuilding, didn't they?
Sort of.
They
Yeah.
haven't changed anything to
Yeah.
date.
But this was just, the idea behind this was just sort of why, you know, the comp plan was with the comp plan. I mean, they're amending it, I think, here and there, but, I mean, it's about different things, but, yeah.
That's,
That was
that's,
just, it was just,
it's kind of been discussed at length in the last two meetings that they had with the combined council.
LPA. Yeah, I
LPA.
attended that one, yeah.
That, I mean, they pretty much went through chapter and verse
Mm-hmm.
on the plan, so.
Well, the point was they were not gonna change the comp plan.
Right.
Yeah, exactly, right.
So,
So by discussing density and intensity, what are?
As it affects,
The environment.
yeah, the ecology of a barrier island is what it is.
What is the outcome that we're hoping for?
Just advice to them, to keep in the back of their mind, I guess, was the objective, was to say, you know, is it, you know, shade, do we want to like drive down a canyon? I mean, whatever it was. I mean, not unlike what he afforded you on, it's gonna include more sheet flow, it's gonna include more pollution, solid waste, whatever, all those types of things.
And that's
So,
on an initiative?
It was, and then we discussed it, and we said, well, and we even went to the point where we assigned everybody who's gonna take a portion of the aspects of it.
Right.
And we said, there's people that know this already, why, you know, we're gonna have to spend all our time looking all this up, so. The idea was is we would secure a speaker, based on you finding that professor that sort of did the 2-minute talk, but is there somebody that can talk about it where it would make sense to people as to why, certainly now the comp plan is where it's at. I mean, the fact is it's gonna be more intense anyway, right? I mean, everybody's gonna build out to their envelopes, right?
Sure.
So it's already gonna get more dense and more intense under a current comp plan. So, anyway, so if you have somebody, otherwise it'll go the way of the dodo, right?
I'll look into it and see.
The second one, there's nobody here really to ask, but I've had some neighbors ask about the swim buoys off the beach. You know, the swim buoys, quarter-mile markers they call them also. I mean, they haven't replaced them. Do you know who's got the jurisdiction for that? Is that the Coast Guard?
I think that's a
Or
requirement.
NOAA, maybe?
I think that's a requirement to keep the, and I
The boats.
just, the
Jet
boats
skis.
away
Yeah.
from the beach, and I think it's actually, there's designated alleys that they can come in and beach their boat, and they know where those are, but I think it's more protection for the swimmers in the water, especially down on the south end for us, than anything else, because you've got a guy zooming along at 30 knots, you want to make sure he's far enough out that he doesn't endanger them.
Right, of course, that's exactly what it's for. I mean, you can take a boat within them, for sure, but it has to be at slow speed, no wake speed.
And in some areas, they have actual aisles that you can come in.
Right, so my neighbors are just saying, I saw a guy just buzzing, you know, right next to the, you know, very close to the beach. And so
Yeah,
it's
there's
just
no
a
rules.
safety concern. Maybe that's something, actually, I can ask my other neighbor who's just head of the safety committee to to add to his agenda,
I
actually.
would ask.
Because it's a safety issue.
I would ask
Yeah,
the Coast Guard more than anything else.
Right, well, he was just wondering who can he go to complain to, or who can he go to ask to say, put the buoys back out there, is what the question was, so that's why I brought it to this group, because I thought maybe Austin, or if he was here, Chad would know. All right, moving along.
I'm gonna become an ice cube here any minute.
Public, I'm telling you.
You ought to be sitting under this blower.
I was,
I'm telling you, I can barely control myself anymore. So, no
we're all,
public comment.
we're all iced to our chairs.
Moving along, Murph Award, you've submitted apparently a Murph Award.
I did, but you didn't receive it?
No, we voted on one last meeting, so
Right,
that
and
was submitted.
I sent it
And
to
so
Chad.
now you sent one that I have not received.
How are we okay, this is so
It's a real-
frustrating
it's a
for
problem.
me because how is it that I can't send you anything direct?
So
Do
I'll,
we need not a different liaison but
I
do we
would-
need someone?
sending him the Murph Award in the past was based on our previous council's decision not to have any communication between advisory members.
Okay,
So nothing subjective.
right.
If
But-
you never talk, then how could there ever be a sunshine law? Council Gloucester said, you can share information. If it's, unless it's something
Right.
you're not gonna vote on or
Right,
whatever.
if it's not gonna be discussed in a future meeting.
Right,
Right.
so this has been voted on.
Right.
This is an award, so send it directly to me
Yep.
Oh,
from here on out.
okay.
Yep.
I mean, I don't think that's a problem.
Okay.
Because it's a
It's
problem.
already, it's a
We can't
problem.
get, we can't get
Right,
information.
and if we get into trouble, then we'll amend our ways.
Take it up with Rose.
Yeah, I mean,
But otherwise, it seems,
it's something we've discussed.
exactly,
I mean,
we've all voted on it.
it's administrative.
Allocated, all we want is
Send
dead.
it-
I'm not sure my D&O insurance covers
Well,
the.
I mean, to
Okay.
be honest with you, I wasn't here for the last meeting, but I did watch some of it, and she was pretty adamant. By the way, she only came to a Murph meeting. She didn't go.
She didn't go to anybody
other-
else's meetings?
No, she didn't go to any. I watched all the meetings, and she only came to the Murph meeting. And I'm curious. Is it something personal? I'm not sure, but I from what she was saying, she was adamant that we follow the sunshine laws, which I believe for the,
Sure,
I think I've been
There's
on,
never been a question there.
No.
yeah, but anyhow, so I just didn't want to, overstep. I was always told to send any documents to the staff liaison, and then the staff liaison would send it, so.
Her counsel to us is that is much more liberal than it was John Herron's, and that was that you can actually communicate.
If there is a question, then
I mean,
to your point,
Before,
other than
text,
Chad,
you couldn't call
who
people.
can we
Literally, we're not expected
CC
to
on
ever
with
talk,
Chad?
ever.
Well,
Or send any kind of
I believe she
electronic
said
communication.
any
When you
like
read the
thing we
sunshine
could go
law, you can
to
read it anyway.
Amy Baker.
And then Amy
Well,
can
I
forward it on.
recommend, I recommend
I don't know.
Herron.
I think we should, I think we should always CC, anything we send to Chad, we should CC others.
I do Bill
But it made him-
I have
The two liaisons.
Good
I
grief.
live under the same sunshine law
Yeah.
as does Bill on the condominium boards. We have the same sunshine laws.
Oh, do you?
Oh,
Yeah?
absolutely.
For- Even though you're non-governmental?
Oh, absolutely.
No, the Florida Sunshine Law is directed for political. It's not, it's political, sorry, government.
You can push that
You
issue,
probably,
Yeah.
because we did.
you probably follow it, but it's not intended for private,
You won't go to jail like we were.
right, you won't go to
As I
jail.
said, I don't want to give my D&O insurance a workout.
It's your, yeah, it's
Same
fair,
every step, we raised our
it's
DNO.
fair for your constituents is the way to approach
So
it, is to
who's
say you're
new? Murph
transparent,
Ward?
right? So,
Who's the new Murph award?
Okay,
I'm
so-
hungry.
Stacy and Lacey, or,
Yeah, we need to get that one up there.
I are
It's
pretty
all
I still don't
in the
have it,
news.
so once I get it, that's gonna be this month.
Send it to them
Okay, I'm
again.
gonna
And then
send
next
it to you
month we'll
right
choose
now.
another one,
I'm gonna
choose
send it
another
to
one,
you
okay.
right now
Yeah,
during the
get
meeting.
that.
All right.
So
I would
while
say-
she's doing that, let's set the agenda for next meeting.
Okay,
Set agenda, okay, so, beach sand projects, right?
Number one.
yeah, let's get,
So staff update, even though I asked staff update to be an agenda item every time, it's never on here.
So we just added at the beginning of every meeting.
I just don't understand it.
Amend the meeting, amend the agenda and put it on the beginning.
we will.
I just don't understand it.
Don't wait for the end, put it on the beginning.
I will say this though also, I believe
Chad
they're gonna start
changes it.
posting their reports online again. So I remember when I first joined MERF, each of the staff, directors, bosses, whatever, so stormwater, wastewater, environmental, they actually posted their reports. You know, we used to call them pulse reports, basically what you're working on, what you're doing, and then they disappeared. So now they're back on. So that report that he would give technically would be online, which is good. I mean, it gives everybody more transparency to all what's going on in town. But yeah, I guess every time, if it's not on here, we're just gonna have to amend the agenda to add it,
All right.
right? So I'll put staff report anyway.
Staff reports.
Staff report.
And
Beach sand projects.
See, it says, this is when I sent it, just to prove to you I
You
sent
told me on
it.
Halloween you sent it.
Yes.
Yeah, I believe you.
I promise I'm not a flake.
I think she's
Okay.
like,
So what else? What else should be on the agenda for next meeting? We can
Possibly
try-
the commercial vegetation, but that would be very, very
Well-
short, and that would be based on,
But I'm not sure.
I'm not sure what we're.
I'd like to make a recommendation on that. Let's see, you're
Let's
obviously
see
going
what-
to approach the council,
Right.
and they're going to set up a priority, so I would say pick those items, and then we can prioritize them, and then start working our way down the list. We can
Right.
put them all down, and if we don't get to them all, we can move them to the next meeting. So I think that would be item number 2, is just say whatever the town council has prioritized, we'll, or whatever they've selected, put that on our agenda, and then we will move that in an order of priority as we can go through.
Perfect. The problem being is that they don't always prioritize. I asked them to.
No,
Right. So if not, then we will.
that's correct.
Perfect. And then given time, we'll say, okay, here's number 1. We'll add that.
Well, and I think next meeting, we can say, okay, this is number 1, this is number 2. If we
Right.
get to number 8, great. If not, we just move it to the next meeting.
Oh, I see what you're saying. You just always have a running initiative list, basically. If we have time, we just bump up the next one. Is that it?
That is correct.
I
Okay.
need your email address. Do you mind writing it down on a piece of paper unless you want everyone to know it?
Sure. Here, I'll just key it in. Okay, so having said that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Okay.
Do it.
I'll second that.
12:18, motion,
Second.
Dave Nussbaum, and seconded by Bill Altoff.
Thank you.
Thank you,
And
folks.
you got your article, from him.
Yes,
Harper,
it's
and
already up.
next- And the next
Yeah.
one, because I
Has that been, I haven't been getting the paper or anything, has it been?
It went in, he had a little bit of a typing issue on the second page, and I sent him something this morning that said, Nathan, can you fix it? Because it reads very difficult. Because of spacing more than anything else.
So I will, as just a reminder, when you guys send those in, put them in a Word format instead of zipping them into a PDF because it makes it uneditable.
cut copy easier.
Right.
Well, I told Nathan
I'm
I
next,
could send it back to him in a Word.
Oh, you
I
did?
sent him an email this morning,
Perfect.
because I said, I opened it up and I couldn't read it.
Perfect, because frankly, I don't ever change content, but I do just have to fix typos and stuff before I send it to them, which I'm
I'm
sure you're
November,
used to.
right? I'm the next.
Oh, yeah, I didn't go through that. Yeah.
You're it.
Okay.
Showing spotlight,
I'm December, right? When do you need that?
Dave, November, Rob, December, Jen. Yeah, so
When do you need December?
usually the first of the month, isn't that how it used to work?
December 1st you need it?
Once upon a time.
Right, so,
Once upon a time.
but you're November, it's November now.
So I'm late.
Or is it the 15th? I don't know, whatever.
I'll get it to you as soon
November,
as.
yeah, I have to organize that a little bit better. I
And
think we're still on.
We're still on
probably-
camera.
Yeah.
13th is our next meeting, okay?
Yes, 13th 's our next meeting.
Oh, it's late?
Yeah,
It feels like
starts
December
weird.
It is
now.
so cold in here. I can't stand it.
I'm glad I went for my sweater, 'cause it's so shivering.
Oh, I know, I should have gone for my rain jacket.
Is the AC on? Yes, you just go for it.
Let's see, man.
Talk to you. Oh, right now. Oh, watch it. Thank you. So is mine. They fired the one guy. Wait,
I'm gonna get you over there. Stay out in the wall. All right.
I'm waiting on Rose. You want to wait for us for a minute? Trust me, the inspector's not going to do anything.